cheers, man. Welcome to the
my
studio.
I'm glad to be here.
I never tried this with Mountain Dew before.
This probably tastes pretty good, actually.
I'm not a huge fan of Mountain Dew, to be honest. Never have
Well,
been.
I drank Mountain Dew for 30-something years. And
You want some ice for that?
Yes, please. And I had some health problems about a year ago. Found out that I probably should not ever drink Mountain Dew again. Well, don't escape on me, Ice Cube. Come to daddy. There you go. So,
Well, I mean,
that's all I drink is soda. So I'm like, man, I got to find another alternative. If I can't drink Mountain Dew, what am I going to drink? I had coffee and milk as alternatives, but that's kind of hard to haul around in their truck. So they came out about the same time with Mountain Dew Zero. Tastes just like Mountain Dew, but no sugar.
because you couldn't do the sugar. That
Exactly.
was the big issue.
Yeah, because I had diabetes, so I couldn't do sugar.
Yeah, sugar is
It's poison.
it's
It'll kill
poison.
I never really realized it until, I'd always been a borderline diabetic. But when I nearly died from it, then I realized it's actually pretty a serious thing. I ended up having a sugar level of 1137 and drove myself to the hospital. And the people at the hospital are like, how are you conscious? You should be in a coma.
Yeah, motherfucking
like,
Dale
well,
Barnes is how I'm conscious.
Yeah, I said, well, I feel like shit, but, I'm
Yeah.
still here. But that was definitely an experience.
Yeah, soda itself is a poison.
Oh, yeah,
I don't drink
and
besides doing something like this, and even this, I usually, if I feel the need to mix a drink, I'll do it with ginger ale, diet. But when I decided I was going to lose weight, I cut soda out completely, and I love soda.
Oh, good, yeah.
I'm an RC guy.
I used to drink RC.
See, I'm that guy.
When I was a kid, man, we'd buy RC, a moon pie, and a pack of peanuts. That was the best treat you could get as a child back in my generation.
Moon pies.
You take pop the top off the RC, you pour the peanuts inside of it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So you add that salt to it?
Yeah, and it kind of changed the whole flavor of the soda, and you still got the salty peanuts and the good soda.
I wonder why that's not a thing. I wonder why
Well, down south it was.
Well, I meant soda. Pepsi with nuts.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm surprised somebody hadn't tried to package it that way.
Yeah.
But, actually, I think it's kind of most of the only people I ran into that do that are down south.
Yeah.
But, I ran into a few people up a little further around Tennessee or something that still do it. But, up above the Mason-Dixon, I ain't ran into too many people who do that.
Well, RC, down south, is RC big down south?
Now,
Or is it Dr. Pepper?
well, no, down south, RC used to be the drink up until about late 70s, early 80s, and then disappeared. Couldn't buy one nowhere. You can still find the knee-high, like the knee-high orange and the knee-high grape. The knee-high strawberry you couldn't find no more. But the knee-high orange and grape was still around for probably another 10 years. And you can still find it in little small towns, like down around Okeechobee, Miami, down that area. You can still find them down there. But in the major cities like Orlando, Ocala, Jacksonville, you can't find them nowhere.
I don't know what knee-high is.
It is the best grape and orange soda ever made in history.
Really?
That stuff is good.
Well, grape, I'm not a fan of grape. But orange soda, Orange Crush, to me is
better than Orange Crush.
Not just Orange Crush by itself, but out of the fountain. It's the best fountain drink there is, in my opinion.
Now, back in, I guess, late 60s, early 70s, the best fountain drink you could get at the drugstore ice cream thing that was in the old drugstores back then was Coke. A cherry Coke. A cherry Coke with ice cream and a scoop of vanilla ice cream dumped on top of it.
Oh yeah, make a
Cherry
float out
Coke
of it.
Float. Oh man.
And orange soda float is amazing.
Oh yeah, and so is cream soda float if you like cream soda.
Yeah. Oh yeah. An orange soda with vanilla ice cream is pretty much cream soda. And it's so good. But again, I cut soda out completely, and I ended up moving to seltzer water.
Ugh.
Right, yeah. First reaction, definitely like, oh, it tastes like water, but gross. And
like things died in it.
Yeah, and so the way I weaned myself off of soda and onto that was like a cranberry juice.
Yeah,
I would mix it half and half, and now you add cranberry juice and it has that sweetness, and it's very good. It's like having a very light Sprite.
The seltzer and the water would actually give it a little more punch on the cranberry.
Right, and that's what
So it's like good chemical combination.
And that's what I was addicted to was the fizz. I was addicted to that. I knew that about myself. I was like, that's all I want is the fizz.
Yeah.
So then over time, over a span of like a month and a half, 2 months, I just lowered the amount of juice I was putting in it,
and got to water.
And now I can just drink seltzer water like it's water.
Yeah.
And that even in itself has become an issue with my medical my gout and stuff like carbonation really can activate that.
Yeah.
So like now, especially with Anya here, Anya's
she's a
WebMD over here.
Oh yeah, real health conscious. Yeah, she keep you in line.
Yeah, she does.
That's good.
So Dale, man, I'm going to be honest with you. Besides, hanging out with you and Barrel Bar where I believe that's where we met.
That's where we met. Yeah.
I don't really know too much about you. We have
people don't.
We have a click.
Yeah.
We have an understanding.
We've always had that since the first time we met.
Right. A very very same track way of thinking.
We've never really had the chance to sit down and swap stories.
Right.
I mean, we've chatted a bit. We've gotten to know each other over the years, but as far as like going back into the roots of a person or what kind of stories they have and stuff, we never really had the opportunity to sit down and do that.
Well,
so this is cool. I mean, this is great because I'm actually the kind of person that don't really tell too many people what I do. I just be me and wander around, and if they want to find out, then they'll either ask or they won't, so
Dale the Wanderer.
Pretty much. I've been a gypsy all my life.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Some people will put a negative tone behind
the
gypsy mindset, but I think there's a lot of
to other people who probably care for you and wonder where you're going and where the hell you are. It probably has have negative connotations, but for a person who's chasing a dream, trying to enlighten themselves, being a gypsy is a good thing.
Yeah,
because you experience so much more traveling across the country, looking at different social situations, looking at how different people live. It's like, we're here in Thornville. I think that's the right name.
Yep.
But somebody who lives in Boise, Idaho has a totally different reality than what you do.
Yeah.
So if you're a gypsy and you travel around busking or just travel around, you get to experience all those different realities, and it makes you understand basicness that we all share.
That is completely. I get that. I didn't grow up that way personally. Right. I found, I was privileged growing up. And I had trust me, my family had their problems for sure. Yeah, I mean, alcoholism, abuse, all those dark days that are behind, but we were financially good,
right.
We lived in a good neighborhood, and I grew up in Texas, came to Ohio, and when I started living this life that you're told to live. You gotta go to the school, get the job, meet the girl, have the kid.
Little cookie cutter thing they give you when you turn 18.
Exactly, and without diving too deep into it, all that flipped upside down on me. It didn't work out. It didn't fucking work out.
Wasn't you?
Yeah. Well, I wanted it to be me,
you,
but it wasn't me. And when it all flipped upside down, I quit my job. I once the ex-wife was gone, which was very quick, and again, I'm not going to go into it, but once she was gone, I decided I didn't really know who I was.
Exactly.
And I was about 26 at this point in time. Like I never really, I kind of played out a little bit. I was just hosting my first open mic. Yeah. I didn't even know what that was, really.
He was just getting a taste.
Right. And I was like, I don't know who I am, what I'm capable of, and to what degree that even meant. Like, am I a loser? I don't know. So let me just go live, in a sense, a gypsy life. I spent the next 5 years, I never had a foundation.
Yeah.
I was moving from place to place.
Yeah, some people can't deal with that roots.
Right. And when I did that, I did it on purpose. I wanted to dive into a different lifestyle and see what version of me came out of that.
Yeah.
And it was like one of my first steps to self-awareness.
Yeah.
That I had. And I learned a lot about myself. Like when I traveled down this rabbit hole of, I could have very easily become a deadbeat dad at this point in time. You got to understand, my son was 6 years old when this all started. I saw him regularly, and he was with me, 2-3 days a week. And when this happened, I disappeared for 6 months.
Yeah.
And in that first 6 months, I decided that's not the person I am.
Yeah.
And that's actually when I first met Anya. She was there for that 6 months.
Yeah, she was in her transition too.
Right. And so that was my big, okay, that is not who I am. Met a lot of great people, like you said, different lifestyles, different ways of life, which is something I've grown to love.
Yeah.
Learning about people, learning about different lifestyles that they come from. And to cut the story short, it paved the way with where I am now.
Exactly. It made you who you are now.
Right. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made was to go find
who you were,
what I was. And I'm still, and I've learned that that's a continuous thing.
It's a lifetime story.
Yeah. And that's basically what's got you here today.
Yeah.
It's this constant urge and need to want to learn about other people, and and here you are. How long do you think you've lived in that gypsy lifestyle? Is that a full thing, or did you have a different life before? What led to this?
Well, what led to this? I grew up dirt poor. My family was white trash. We had nothing. We lived in some houses where I remember being a kid, being sick, and looking up at the roof and watching these like 20-pound rats jump over the hole in the roof over my bed. We were pretty poor.
Yeah.
And my life was a lot different than most people growing up. I had a crippled brother who had athetoid palsy. He couldn't do anything for himself. So I had to basically, for 16 years, wait on him hand and foot. I had to dress him, I had to feed him, I had to give him baths, I had to tote him until we got a wheelchair for him. I toted him up until I was probably 12. Everywhere we went.
So you grew up quick.
I've been an adult since I was 6. I have no idea what normal people's childhoods were because mine wasn't normal. I just became a responsible adult at like 6 and have stayed there for the rest of my life. So when I finally hit 16, I was very intelligent. My IQ was like 185. I was very intelligent. And I was stuck in this crazy situation where that was not a plus. That was derogatory to my living situation because I was smarter than anybody else in the house. And so it was, you learn to hide that because people do not like smart people.
Yeah, you're almost
persecuted. You're persecuted. So you have to do the chameleon thing. You have to change your outside personality. You can still be the same person inside, but you got to change the outside person who deals with all the other people out there into something that's socially acceptable so that you can at least try to fit in. You're still a little weird and you still stand out because you have no social guidelines because you didn't grow up going out with the other kids and Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts, and you didn't do all the after school things like playing football, and you never had none of that. So you didn't learn the basic friendship bonds and social interactions that happen at that age that prepare you for the rest of your life.
To prepare you for the rest of the life of this cookie cutter life.
Yeah, the cookie cutter life. So I hit the road when I was 16. That is one crazy story. Me and my little brother and a couple other guys, we decided to go to California. Now, I had a car. I had a 73 Plymouth Duster. Great car. But my buddy, he's like, man, I got a 65 Mustang that we can take. I'm like, okay, cool. I thought it was his car. Well, not time.
That you thought it was his car?
Yeah.
That sounds like it might play into the story a little bit later, huh?
Yeah. So when I get to Georgia, my uncle, it was running rough, so my uncle's a mechanic. And so I went to his house to get him to take a look at it. And I mean, it was smoking, it was skipping, it was running like it was going to die at any minute. You know, and when I got there, my Uncle Gene, he says, Dale, police are after you. I'm like, what? He said, yeah, that's a stolen car. I'm like, oh, man, you got to be kidding me.
So why were they after you? Because you brought it to the shop?
Because I was the only one old enough to drive.
Oh.
I was the licensed driver.
Oh, boy. What happened to your car? Was your car still available?
My car was still sitting in Central Florida. You know, if I'd known that, I took my own car.
Wow.
You know, but that's just like one of the crazy things that kind of happens along the journey. You know, so
you learn integrities and people's habits really quick when you're traveling with others.
So I knew the first place they would look for me was my uncle's house because he was kind of like a go-to for me, safe, soft spot to land when I was in trouble. So I went inside and talked with my Aunt Myrtle and all the other youngins and their mother cousins and stuff. And I come back out. My uncle had that car tuned up like a friggin' race car. That thing would scat. Didn't smoke, purred like a damn kitten.
The Mustang?
Yeah.
So he still worked on the Mustang?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's in my corner no matter what.
Fair
he's
enough.
one of those few people in my family. I could show up 2 o'clock in the morning. I got a place to sleep. I could stay there for 2 years. He wouldn't care. Wouldn't charge me a dime. Feed me, take care of me, love me. You know, he's just in my corner. One of the few beautiful people that's been in my life.
How did he know that the police were looking for you?
My daddy and him called him.
Okay.
And he didn't tell him I was there. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so you were there incognito.
See, he knew the life I had when I grew up. I mean, he knew I was basically a slave from the time I was 6 until that point. I mean, he'd been to my mom and dad's house. He's seen how I was treated. I mean, I had a very abusive, psychologically and physical, growing up. You know, I went through a lot of trauma. And he knew that. That's why he was in my corner. Because he believed I could be better and that I could escape that. So he
had an outside perspective.
Yeah, up to the day he died, he was always someone I could depend on. That I could show up anytime and know I was home. That I would be treated like I was home and the family that I was. He's one of the few people in my life I was ever able to depend on.
Well, that's awesome, man.
And then so, like I said, I was pretty intelligent. And back then they didn't have all the stuff they have now as far as technology. So I knew if I could stay a state ahead, lay down some false trails, they would never catch me. And that's what I done. I laid down some trails that I was heading north and I went west. And met up with some people out in Houston.
So wait, they were actively looking for you?
Yeah, in Florida.
Like state to state?
They had an APB out on me in that car.
Really? And what year was this?
78.
Yeah, 78. I mean, you know, we didn't have computers back
Exactly.
then. You know,
they couldn't trace me across state lines.
Yeah.
I mean, they could put out an APB.
Oh, so you were still in Florida throwing them off the trail?
No, I was in Thomasville, Georgia. I had left.
So
Florida.
Close. You're
I was
close.
I was one state away. And the whole time that this was going on, I was always one state ahead of the APB. And I took that car all the way to California, to San Diego. I had a cousin who was in the Marine Corps. He was like my brother. And I wanted to try to hook up with him and get a new start out west. But I get there, I had just enough cash to make it to the Marine Corps base out there. I get to the Marine Corps base and I'm like, I need to see my cousin, Jim. And what's his Social Security number? Well, I ain't got no fucking idea what his goddamn Social Security number is. You know, he's my fucking cousin. I just need to talk to him. Well, I'm sorry, but you can't. If you don't have his some kind of military jargon stuff and his Social Security number, we can't put you in contact. Well, that's just fucking great. I travel 1,500 miles and I can't even speak to him, and he's on the other side of that damn fence.
Time to get your that pigeon with the note on its leg.
Well, so we pulled out of I think it's Camp Pendleton's name of that military base. We pulled out of there, got about a half mile, and ran out of gas. So here we are, stuck in California, no money. Everything we own's in this car, and there's no gas, and people are looking for us. So we went hitchhike and kind of walked basically down to the rest area on the interstate there, try to bum some money for gas and get a gas can. We finally got lucky. Some Mexican guy gave us a gas can, and some old people felt sorry for us, gave us a couple bucks. And so we went to hitchhike to another place, got some gas, and then hitched back to the car. Well, we get to the car, and it's up on a wrecker, and the California Highway Patrol's there.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, oh, no. This is not good.
Is this the point in time where you're like, maybe we should have brought my car?
That was a long time ago. And so then he spots our silly selves walking down the road with the gas can in our hand, being super obvious, and tells us to halt. And of course, we're not going to do that. We know if we halt, we're going to jail. So we're like 2 miles from the Pacific Ocean. So we just booked towards the ocean, running Vietnam style through the grass, dropping every few feet and dropping, and he started shooting at us.
Shooting?
Yeah.
It's 1978, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't care back then. So finally we eluded him, got back to the rest area, and hid in the bathroom till he done made a couple of passes. And we caught a ride with this Mexican dude. He could speak no English, and my Spanish was horrible from high school. But I convinced him we needed a ride. And he was, like I say, he's a pretty easygoing fellow, seemed like. So we wanted to go to San Diego. And, we're up at Pendleton, which is probably about 60, 70 miles from San Diego. Now, I've been running from the cops for over about 5 days, driving every day, all day. I was burnt the hell out. I mean, I was fried. I was at the end of my endurance. So I fell asleep in this dude's car. When I wake up, there are Spanish signs everywhere. I'm like, where the fuck am I? I was in Tijuana. I don't even know how I got over the border, man. I was in Tijuana.
It's amazing how a lot of really good stories end up in Tijuana at some point in time.
And so we wandered around. I kept, we were out of money, so I kept asking people for cigarettes. And like I say, my Spanish was horrible. Every time I'd ask somebody for a cigarette, they give me a joint. So now we're stoned as fuck wandering around Tijuana trying to find a cigarette. And so finally, I found a chick who spoke English in one of the little shops. And I'm like, we are stranded here. We have nowhere to stay. We have no money. Is there like someplace we can crash overnight till we can get back to the United States? And she told me about a junkyard down the road that some homeless people kind of stayed at sometimes. So we all crashed out at a school bus overnight, abandoned school bus at the junkyard. And next day went back to, hitchhiked up to El Centro, which is the border crossing. And that went pretty smooth. We hitched another ride, went back over the border and went into San Diego, and started talking with all the homeless people there, dude, where can we find some food? We're starving to death. So about that time, my little brother and one of the other boys named Smiley, they decided that's it. Enough of this shit. We had enough. So I said, well, you know what, boys? I'll tell you what. I got 10 cents left. I got 1 dime. I'll give you that dime. You call the police. They'll come get you. You'll get to go home eventually. It's your only option. I mean, we ain't got no money. I can't help you. That's the only thing I can do for you is give you a dime, call the police, and they'll probably send you home because you're all minors. So I gave them the dime. We split. Me and Michelle went one way, and Smiley and my brother went the other way. They did call home, and they both ended up back in Florida. They didn't get charged with nothing. They just, because they were minors, so they just shipped them back on their Greyhound. So they got a free ride home.
But where's Dale?
Yeah, Dale's still stuck in San Diego. Me and Michelle. So we decided, like I say, to kind of look through the area, talk to the locals, and find out where we can get some food free. Well, we found this place down on Ocean Beach called OB People's Food Store.
Obies?
OB, like O period, B period, food store.
Gotcha.
And it was like a hippie place. And what they would do, if you would come in there and bag up like nature food, trail mix, that kind of stuff, and work in the store in the back for, set amount of time, they give you a whole bag full of food. So we worked there all that afternoon, got us a big old grocery bag full of trail mix and stuff like that, and all natural food, but still food. And we got that and said, we're getting out of California. We're going to hitchhike back.
Why did you go to California? Like, why California?
To hook up with my cousin.
And that was
my main purpose.
And you got there and you couldn't hook up with him.
Yeah, to hook up with him and have him help me try to, start a new life, basically, to get away from the situation I was in. And so when that didn't happen, well, okay, I'm on the road. I'm going to have to figure out how to live on the road. I need to go find some place where I can kind of make my own place, on my own. So we hitchhiked out of California, and we got into, about 40 miles outside of Benson, Arizona, and we ran into this other kid named Rich. And he was running from charges in Michigan for running weed. They had caught him like a pound of weed, so he was running because he didn't want to go to court and go to jail. So all three of us, kind of hooked up and we're traveling together. Well, we're laying up underneath this bridge that back then, you don't see this too much now, but back then all the bridges had like a 3-foot level spot up top underneath the road, and then you had to drop. So you could climb up there and you had a nice place to sleep out of the weather. I've slept like that shit hundreds of times. But we were all curled up.
It's not like full of like birds or anything?
Oh, no. I mean, there might be, a couple snakes and some spiders or something, scorpions, but nothing dangerous.
Yeah, scorpions, nothing dangerous.
You just have to be careful how you wake up. You just kind of, when you first wake up, you just got to be real still and see if you feel anything.
So you don't put your hand down.
So yeah, you don't smack a scorpion. You don't disturb the snake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's happened to me. I mean, I woke up and caught him by their tail, flipped him away, or grabbed a snake behind his head and chunked him down on the road. Well, it's happened.
When I grew up in Texas, we had scorpions.
Oh yeah.
In Texas, and there's this like they're like spiders almost.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you'll find them up in the corners and
they're everywhere.
Shit like that.
You gotta check your shoes, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. I lived out west for a while.
There was one time my brother was sleeping. He had the fan on. He had a floor fan, and you hear this. Scorpion parts everywhere. So I didn't mean to interrupt. You said scorpion, and it's not too many people I talk to that really know about scorpions.
So. About 2:30 in the morning, Michelle got up to go take a leak. And when he come out from under the bridge, stepped up on the highway that goes, was going over the interstate, he met a few highway patrolmen. And they rounded him up, and then he come up with guns and flashlights and rounded up me and Rich. So that was like a rude awakening. And so the funny part of it, though, was, Michelle was a runaway. I was old enough. I was 16, so I was old enough. They couldn't really take me to jail for leaving home, So Michelle, I think he was like 14. And so they asked him, he said, "Son, are you a runaway?" And he's like, "No, I left." I fell out, man. I had cuffs on, and I was leaning over the cop car, and I just started laughing my ass off.
Couldn't he have just told them, oh no, I'm 18.
Well, they run all of our, we had ID. They checked all of our IDs, and he was already in the system as a missing runaway.
Gotcha.
Because of what had happened with the car and everything. It was his dad's car, so he was already wanted. So they arrested him.
So did they know that you were?
They didn't know I was the
escaping
one
charges?
no, they didn't know I was the one that was driving the car. Like I said, I was always like one state ahead
Right.
of the people looking for me. And they took him away, and they told me and Rich to kindly move along. The reason they'd even hassled us in the first place was there was a campground like a mile down the road that we had went to actually earlier, and had went in there and basically stood under the shower with our clothes on and got some soap and just scrubbed everything, and then let our clothes dry while we were just walking around. I mean, we're in the desert, it's 100-something degrees. It don't take long
at all.
So, but later after we left, some 3 guys come in with a pistol and robbed the old man and woman who run the campground. They thought it was us. That's why they rousted us in the first place. And so when they found we had no money and no gun, they knew it wasn't us, that we were
Boy, you narrowly escaped that one.
Oh, man, you have
not narrowly, but you definitely...
and I've kind of edited this version because there are a lot of crazy things that happened that were so unbelievable that most people would think I was the biggest liar walking the face of the earth if I told these stories. So I did edit a few things out and kind of condensed it to Reader Digest version.
Reader Digest version.
And
I mean, if you want to tell your story, you tell your story.
Well, I forgot one part, and you'll find this is cute. When we were going through Houston, heading out to California, the window on the back of the Mustang was plastic. There was no window. We had put plastic over it. And I had took a break from driving because I drove all the way from Florida. And like I say, we laid a few false trails, So I'd been driving for probably 72 hours. And I told Michelle, since it was, supposedly his car, I'm like, dude, I know you ain't got a license, but just, drive for an hour or two and let me get some sleep. And so I crash out and I wake up, somebody's poking me. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, there's a cop behind me with his lights on. I'm like, okay. How long has he been back there? About 20 miles.
Like he had the cherries on.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude.
Why didn't you wake me up sooner?
Yeah. Like, dude, just pull over before we get shot. And I said, we'll switch spots. They can't see who's driving because of the plastic. We'll switch spots, and I'll tell them I was driving, and I didn't see him because of the plastic. I didn't look in my mirror. I was tired from driving. So we pull over. Next thing we know, here comes 8 more squad cars, fire truck, and an ambulance. They surround the car, guns out. I'm like, oh my God, we are going to prison. So, we
at this point in time, you knew the car was stolen?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Because
you knew that before.
I knew that in Georgia, and we're in Texas.
Right.
So, I'm thinking to myself right then there, we are going to prison right now. It was fun while it lasted, but we are done. So we waited till they approached the car, guns out and all that, got out of the car, hands up against the car, went through all that rigmarole. And there's this huge African-American officer. This guy's got to be 6'10", 7 foot, monster. Name was Sergeant White. And he says, we need to search your car, boy. I got no problem with that, man. So I take my screwdriver and unlock the trunk. And the car is hot wired, of course. And so, he's looking at me funny this whole time. Well, back then I was into martial arts. And I collected knives, nunchucks, swords, any kind of hand weapon you could think of. I owned. And they were all in the trunk of this car.
Of course. I used to collect knives too, by the way.
And
I feel I understand that passion. Hits that knife on that table there.
Yeah, I'm done taking eyeball on that. That's nice. And so he starts unloading all these weapons out of the trunk of the car, and there's a pile about 3 foot high. And he says, "What are you planning on doing all them weapons, boy?" So I still had my card for when I went to the dojo, and I'm like, here, look, man, I'm a martial artist. I use all this stuff when I practice. You know, when I perform my katas and work through all my routine.
These
all part of my training.
For my arts.
It's tools for my art.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, do you know that 97% of the stuff in that pile is illegal in Texas? I'm thinking, oh no, here's 10 more years.
You're calculating.
Yeah, I'm calculating how many years before I'm gonna see daylight again. And he lines us all up and has us leaning back on the car. He walks up to us and he's tapping his stick in his hand. Like I say, they're still holding guns on us. You know, M16s and shotguns and pistols. I mean, they're in a circle, like we're surrounded by, like we were Indians or something. You know, we're surrounded totally. And I'm burnt, I'm fried, I'm tired. And he walks up to us and he's tapping that stick in his hand. And he draws back like he's going to hit us. While the other three boys, they're all younger, you know, like, you know, they all cringe. And I just kind of looked at him kind of cockeyed and he says, how come you didn't cringe, boy? I said, you come 10 more inches that I'd stick that fucking thing up your ass. That's why I didn't cringe. He fucking started laughing like hell. He said, you're a crazy motherfucker, ain't you? I'm like, you don't know half of it.
And there's you connected wavelengths right there.
Yeah, we just clicked. He liked me.
Yeah.
He says, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, boy. I like you. I want you to put all them damn weapons back in your car and go find a dumpster. And put all of them in the dumpster. Somewhere. I don't care where. And then when you get back on this interstate, I'm going to pull you over again. And if you got more than one damn pocket knife on you, your ass is going to prison for a long time. That's all right. Deal. You got it. So we got back in the car. I went to the first exit, pulled off, went behind a Jiffy store, got rid of my whole damn collection. And I kept one old-timer pocket knife.
You still have that knife?
No. I lost it. I broke it, actually, years ago. And so we get back up on the interstate. We went 3 miles. And good as his word. Whoop. He pulls us back over, searches the whole car.
Why did he pull you over in the first place?
Because Michelle was speeding. And because we had no rear window in the car.
Was that plastic?
Yeah, we had plastic.
Right.
And that was the main reason he pulled us over. And so he never even gave us a ticket for that.
And, you know, being 1978, they couldn't trace back that this was a stolen car.
Exactly. I was still ahead of the APB. They just thought we were some kids out, you know, joyriding in a junk car we'd picked up somewhere.
Right, with a trunk full of weapons.
Well, I told him, you know, I was honest with him. I said, you know, I'm from Florida, as you can see from tag. You know, I'm going to California to hook up with my cousin, go visit him. He's out in the Marine Corps out there. And I said, he's into martial arts too. That's why I brought all these weapons so we could work out together. You know, I was lying my ass off, but you know, it worked for the story for him anyway.
You're good at running your mouth when you need to.
Yeah, I can make shit up pretty quick.
So so here we are, almost 45 minutes into this thing, and you're just telling these great stories. Have you ever thought about writing memoirs or something? I mean,
my kids have begged me for the last 10 years, Daddy, you got to write a book. I mean,
so
I haven't had time, and I really never, until recently, I never really thought about it because I didn't think nobody give a shit. You know, it's just stuff that happened to me. Why would anybody care?
Because people love suspense.
And
I mean, you've had me on the edge of my seat this whole fucking time.
You know, I ain't even got past 16 yet.
Right. Exactly.
I'm 60 now.
Exactly. I thought today's big story was going to be, you know, you telling me an extended story about your hat, you know?
No, there's a lot more interesting things to me than I tell most people.
Right.
I've had a very unique, a very strange, and eventful life. I mean, that's one thing I can always say. If anybody asks me, he's like, you know, what about your life? I can say it has been one hell of a ride. It still is.
And people would love that, not only because of, you know, the uniqueness of it and the wildness of it, but, you know, people always relate things to themselves in some sort of way, you know, and it's amazing, like even though he was in this crazy ass situation, I felt that before, you know, and that's what people love about stories like this.
Yeah, because they can identify, they can see themselves in that same position. And I'm a storyteller.
Right.
You know, that's what I've done all my life. I'm a writer. I'm a songwriter.
Well, you should write this stuff down.
Well,
I mean, 10 minutes a day. Write a story.
But like I say, recently, I've actually thought very seriously. First, I was just going to write a book, not about me, but just a fiction book. And so I said, well, you know what, Dale? Give it a shot. Just go in there in the room, get on a laptop, make some shit up and see how it sounds. And I got about 4 chapters into it and realized I could write a book not knowing a damn thing about anything and make it interesting. So like, you know what, maybe I can write a book. I mean, I read hundreds of thousands of books over the years, so I should be able to write one. I've been writing since I was 12, so I think, you know, I might could pull it off, you know, but it's just taking the time to actually sit down and do it. And like I said, my dance card's been pretty full lately.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand that aspect when it comes to like.
Well, yeah, I'm still living it.
Recording music, like my originals.
I'm way behind on that.
Like, well, I don't feel like there's a major tier of things of importance, and that's very low on the list.
It's low on your priority list.
Yeah. You know.
Well, see, right now at my age, that's actually getting higher on my priority list. I mean, I've got hundreds of songs I've written over the years, and I would like to leave a legacy for my kids and grandchildren that if they want to ever be a musician, which both my boys are musicians, but you know, if they ever, you know, like my grandkids, if they ever want to be a musician and like, you know, I'd like to do one of Grandpa's songs. It's there.
You know, even a simple phone recording of these things.
I thought about that too. If I could find, what do they call that? It's like Dragon Text or something. It's like a voice activated writing program. So you just talk into it and it writes down what you say.
Yeah, those can be wonky though.
Yeah, so far everyone I've tried out and tested has been wonky.
Yeah.
So I mean, but at one time that was an idea. I'm like, you know, I hate to type. You know, I'm a horrible typist.
Just record it. Just record.
Well, that's what I thought.
You know, I mean, if you don't feel like sitting down and writing a book, carry a recorder with you and just record your stories. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be
an idea. I might think about that.
You know, that might be a new.
Maybe one of them little Tascam things.
Yeah, whatever. You carry this motherfucker around on you.
Yeah, like an old '80s boom box.
This is little,
you know, I used to have one of those.
Little '60s, '70s reel to reel here.
Yeah, I used to have a couple of those. I had TIAC.
Yeah, this motherfucker's heavy.
Oh God, yes. The one I had weighed 70 pounds. Man, it was ridiculous.
I was clearing out a house of a woman who passed away. She was a doctor.
Oh yeah.
And like you can see all these things here. Like I found these first, the tapes.
Yeah, the tapes.
You know, and it was for her patients and stuff. But she had a whole bunch of clear ones, and I'm like, I almost threw them out because the orders were throw everything out.
Yeah.
If you want something, keep it. Which is where I got this chair too.
Yeah.
And I almost threw them out, but I set them aside. I kept looking at them like, oh man, if I find the
thing that plays them, I would see what's on there. Yeah.
Well, I didn't even care about that.
Didn't care about that.
I just wanted something in my studio.
Yeah, they look cool.
They look cool. You know, like it had.
That was me.
Like I've tried to figure it out, and John Garver, you know, he sent me a whole YouTube thing.
Oh, how to figure instruction it out. Thing. Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, maybe one day, you know, but. Yeah, but anyhow, so I found it in her basement, like just tucked away in the corner. I found the whole thing, and I picked the whole thing up.
That's cool.
Kept all the tapes, and now here it is. But yeah, I mean, recording just a little bit, like that's something that, like what I'm doing right now, recording on the computer and everything.
Yeah.
When I went live on Facebook and stuff, I have all that stuff recorded.
Oh, cool.
You know, and to me, even that little bit, you know,
was a bibliography history.
Right. My natural father, who I've never met, he passed away when my mom was pregnant.
Oh, man, that's sad.
He was a musician.
Oh, so you got it honestly.
And he, I've never heard him. I've heard him once. And that was because of a tape. One tape that had him singing on it. And it was, it had good parts and bad parts.
Yeah.
But I heard him because of this tape that he unknowingly left behind.
Yeah.
Even that one tape with that 2 songs on it.
Oh, it was precious.
That was my way of diving in, and I've been trying to locate this tape ever since then. You know, there's a whole family story there,
right?
With them. You know, my mom was thrown out of the family, and
yeah,
I'm up until my son was, or up until I was 18, I went and found the Cades. I was the only Cade I ever knew.
Wow.
You know, and then even then, half of them didn't believe. Well, one of them. I mean, I'm being over exaggerating here. One of them didn't believe I was my son's kid, or my dad's son, even though I look exactly like him.
Yeah.
There was a whole fucking mess there's a whole story
there.
Like
a good story.
It's a sad story.
Yeah.
A very sad story of a family in turmoil because my dad's brother passed away 3 months to the same day that he did.
Wow.
Before he died. So they lost 2 kids in 3 months. My dad was about to get married to my mom, and she was pregnant with me, but when they lost the second one of the daughters just lost her mind. You know, Peggy, she's not pregnant with Steve Cade's kid, which I'm the second. Yeah. You know, she's not pregnant with his kid, and they kind of shunned her out. She wasn't even really welcome to the funeral. It was bad, hot fucking mess.
Yeah,
and they years went by, and they would send threatening letters. You don't ever come here. So I fucking 18 years old.
I'm coming. How you doing?
Come knocking on the door.
Oh, I done that.
You know, and anyhow, so the tape is in that world somewhere. My Aunt Teresa, my father's sister, you know, she's always wanted to find me. She's like, I was about to call Maury and like have him locate you, you know, like all this stuff. And we're still in communication all the time.
Yeah.
And we, I keep hounding her about this tape. You know, where are these tapes? Where are these tapes?
Yeah.
Well, they're in possession of the one sister who
hates your guts.
Hates me for no fucking reason besides I exist. You know, I mean, it's such a weird thing.
Yeah.
But it boils down to the one thing that even just a recording could mean the world to somebody in the future.
Well, let's. Hello. All right, I guess we're. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Sorry, we took a break and we kind of dove deep on something else, so we're gonna switch subjects here. You're talking about what you and I were talking about out there is
who you are and who you act like,
and the enlightenment of
and the
realizing
path of your
that
enlightenment,
and what happened in your past and what you try to keep buried or put in this box of yours.
Yeah,
that you should probably bring out at a later point in time. You know, that's. Man, I wish I could find that poem. I don't want to search for it right now because that would probably be a 20-minute thing. But people's lives are so unique. Like you said, you know, the whole gypsy lifestyle is, you know, you learn different ways how people become the way they become.
Yeah.
And there's some people that stay in this.
Oh yeah, forever.
Stay in this bubble or their whole life.
There's people who lock themselves into a cookie cutter lifestyle because they're afraid to open the boxes, or they're not aware that they have any.
Right, but what makes them that way? What makes them scared to do that?
Fear.
But what gives that fear? And I would imagine
other people.
That's social life.
Or their perception of their reality, actually.
Of the reality that they were taught
insecurities,
to think and believe.
Insecurities.
You know, what's weird? You know, like you said earlier. You know, I didn't know what a normal childhood was. What is a normal childhood? You know, at what point in time in the life that we live now was? Well, this is a normal childhood. This is the childhood you're supposed to have.
Well, yeah, that's what you get told in the books and the movies and all the things that your parents or your friends tell you. You know, that's what's considered normal. But actually, I believe none of us really live in a normal world.
I think normal. It's a fabricated concept.
It's a fabricated label that society has put out to try to make you believe that everything's okay when it's not.
But why would the government do that? Because it makes
control.
Yeah, it they want you to be an obedient worker and pay your taxes and live life simply and then die.
I mean, it's like being in an Indian tribe. You have the chief, and the chief makes all the decisions for the tribe.
Right, and the chief, in that retrospect, is a position that is earned.
Yes,
by the people.
And the way that happens is because, like you say, he's earned the respect of his people to make good decisions and to look out for the welfare of the tribe. But as chief, say your tribe's 100 people. Well, when you put 100 people together in any situation, things are going to happen. And as a chief, you try to head those things off and make everything copacetic for as many people as you can. You're still going to have, the weird things that happen where this person just is not going to be happy in your tribe, and you may have to boot him out of the tribe just to keep peace with the 99 other people in the tribe. But that's basically how governments work. They are in charge of our welfare because we put them there. Not necessarily did they earn it, but, they got voted in.
And at some point in time, this concept of, well, we got to boot this person out because it's bad for the tribe. But when you stop looking at the tribe as people and you start seeing them
as individuals.
Yeah, that's at some point in time, it all gets grouped together. And you stop seeing the individual. You stop seeing...
The one does not matter anymore. It's the group.
Right.
And that goes all the way back to caveman days. I mean, when you had a group of people, we'll go back to the tribe analogy. When you got a group of people, you're all doing what you can, to put food in your belly that day. If you got a person that's in your group who can't find food, or they're too sick to find food, or they're not healthy as everybody else. I mean, law of the jungle kind of stuff is eventually that person will not be part of the group because the group cannot support that person unless it's a very strong group. But, when you're talking just a basic group where everybody's out there digging roots and catching birds or, whatever, if you can't contribute, then...
Well, I think there's a difference.
That's where all that started.
I think there's a difference between laziness and not contributing, and then, like you said, somebody who's sick.
Yeah.
I'd imagine a tribe in that true integrity would help take care of that person, but these other people in the tribe have their own capabilities that are an asset to the tribe,
always get somebody,
and that's something that I think we're losing is that. What are you good at? Okay, then we'll use you for this.
Yeah. You can't go out with us all day and hunt food, but you can stay here and keep the fire going.
Right, you keep the fire going. You can help make the tents.
You can watch over the camp, or you can clean up the area.
Yeah, you're good with metals.
And that's
you can
where
make the arrowheads.
You can
shave
that's where
rocks.
A good chief comes in handy.
Right.
Because you always have. There's one in every crowd. Some person who hates everybody else, is bitter because they hate themselves, that's going to cause problems. And actually, we're going through that in America right now. There's a lot of bitter people out there who are not satisfied with the way things are run, and they want to change it. And some of the things they want to change, probably a good thing.
But there's so many people.
But there's so many people with so many different opinions, and nobody is in charge. There's no chief. Of all these people who are wanting change, there's no chief. I mean, the established government as chief, he's elected every 4 years. But the people who are out there now, and I'm not saying they have bad ideas. Some of them are. Some of them are just crazy, But there's well-meaning people who are not satisfied with status quo. They want to see a better United States. They want to see a better world. They want to see a better human civilization, and they want to be better themselves. But they do not have anyone to speak for them. There is no leader. I mean, this is a current that's running through the world right now. I mean, it's in every country in the world. If you really sit back and look at the big picture, there are a lot of people who are not very happy with the people they have put in charge. They don't think things are going the way they should. And there's a lot of people who are, I guess you could say conservative. They're fairly happy with it, that way things are going, because they get paid every week. They benefit from the situation as it is. And if you change it, they're not going to. So yeah, they're going to fight against this. So you have that duality of people in the world right now. The ones who just like to leave things alone and let me go to work, let me feed my kids, let me pay my bills, and just leave me the hell alone. And then you have your dreamers, your idealistic people, your forward-thinking people, and even your artists, even your crazy people who have a different vision.
Yeah, that aren't really all that crazy if you listen to them.
No, that's how we progress. And the people who like the way things are going on right now are also the kind of people who hate change. Change is a scary thing. I mean, it don't matter if it's in your personal life or if it's in your business life or even in the country you live in. Change is a very scary thing because you've never done it before. So there's always that, is this going to be good or is this going to be real bad? So you have to weigh your options. And, when you do find something that you believe in, fight like hell for it.
And we're kind of going through a version of that right now.
Our whole world is going through a birth process right now. We're birthing our next civilization of the world, our next world civilization. Because people are realizing in Japan, Mexico, Russia, China, there's a lot of normal, intellectual, artistic people who realize we're really not all that different. Those borders are just labels and imaginary things that we've agreed upon.
Yeah, imaginary lines.
They're imaginary lines.
And the way all the technology that we have now
that's disappearing.
Well,
because of the technology.
Yeah, because of the technology. Yeah, technology is paving the way to look at the person in a different country and be like, hey, we're the same. We think the same. I was taught that we think differently. I was taught that you were this way.
I was brought up to hate you.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know you, but I was brought up to hate you.
Right.
And now, I can get online and I can talk to you in Russia. We can chat every day. We can have coffee with each other. We can talk about our old ladies, just like normal guys at a bar or normal people sitting in a coffee house. We can have a real conversation. And there's no lines between us.
Right.
There's no labels between us. We're just people.
And I think that's the beauty
people are waking up to
the communication we have now.
That's why I say we're birthing, with the technology we're discovering, we're birthing a new worldwide civilization. A lot of things that we've taken granted for the last 100 years don't mean anything anymore. It's just all ideals that are outdated. And we need to move into the future as people, as civilization, as individuals.
But what is the future?
That's the scary part that I was talking about.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say that's the scariest part about it. Is what is this future that unifies everybody, and how do you go about doing that? And we have this little taste, with all the protests going on right now of, people feeling, undermined and, uncared for, they're fighting back in a way, and it's very people will argue, well, they're doing it the wrong way. They're doing, what way do you want them to do?
Yeah.
You got, like the whole Black Lives Matter situation, people, rioting in the streets and protesting, and people are like, well, I don't think this is appropriate. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't act this way. And it's kind of like, well, but you also bitched when all they did was take a knee.
Yeah.
During the national anthem. So you ignored it then.
Change. And people are doing things, like you say, to draw attention to the fact that we want change. And if I can't get your attention by taking a knee, I'll burn your neighborhood down because I want you to listen to me. But then you get right back to the same thing I said earlier. There's no leader.
Right.
No one's talking for these people. You got all these different things coming in from all these different people, and they all think something different. There's no unity. Now, I tell you one thing. Reagan said this years ago, and it's true even to this day. If we were invaded by an alien species, every one of us would load up our guns, all get together in every country, and go after their ass. We need a unifying moment. And so far, with all the disruption that's going on in the world right now, there is no unifying moment.
Absolutely.
We don't have something to rally around. We don't have a common belief to go forward. Until we get that, we're going to be a mess.
It's funny you brought that up, because my second podcast interview was with a kid named Kyle Browning. I think you
might know him.
Right. I know you were at one of the shows he performed at. Anyhow, he came in and I brought that same point up. I didn't know Reagan spoke those words, but I told him, I said, I think the only way that our world could be saved is by an alien invasion.
Yeah.
I was like, it would unify the world, just like the fucking movies, the Independence Day. The world unifies when you realize that you're not on this flying mud ball alone in this universe. When there's another, entity that shows itself, all of a sudden all the countries become unified, and now you're a world.
Yeah.
And just, it's funny you brought up the whole Reagan thing, because that's exactly what I was telling him. I was
he was a very smart man in his own way. Kennedy thought the same way. People...
Well, he did now.
Yeah. People need a common goal.
Yeah. There is no common goal.
Like if you're in the military, now you may be in there with people of all different colors, races, ideas. But when the bullets start flying, y'all look out for each other. Better than your own brother would look out for you. You look out to that next man, because he might be keeping somebody from killing you, and you're keeping somebody from killing him. At that moment in time, that is the closest person you'll ever be to in your life. And that's why military people, they stand with each other, because they've been through that. They've been through the jungles. They've been through the deserts. They've been through losing their friends, watching them die. They have a common goal. They know when things get tough, that other military guy staying with you, and you can depend on him to have your back. But see, we need that as a society. We need to have that shared moment where we know the dude who lives next door has got your back. The dude who lives across the street's got your back. The guy in the next county has got your back. You have to have that unifying. Yeah. You have to have that unifying thing, that goal that we all have in common. Without that goal, like when all this protest and stuff started, I was actually pretty excited. I'm like, finally, people are asking for change. Black people, white people, brown people, they're all marching together for a common cause. First time I'd ever seen this in all my life. Usually like back in the 60s, the riots were like all black or all white. But with this thing that come about recently, people of all races and cultures had marched together all over the world. It was unifying. But nobody stood up to lead. And I kept waiting, where's the leader?
Well, is anyone standing up to lead now?
No, still not nobody leading.
Right, and that's the part that concerns me with
this whole movement. That's the scary part. It's a mob.
Nobody's standing up to lead. Who are these people going to look up to?
There is no one.
With this movement. It's people protesting in the streets.
If all you're looking up to is a guy who's dead, he ain't going to help you.
But now you have all these people protesting in the streets. And there's now you have like the anarchists trying to piggyback
off of that.
So now that becomes a blurred line. And then you'll have this other, Antifa, piggyback on that. And now that becomes a blurred line. And now you have a whole bunch of people that have a great common goal, integrity that they want to fight for,
but they have no one to follow. No one to look up to. Nobody who gets up and says, okay, we have decided this is what we want. Where is your list of things you want? Where is your organization? Where is your coordination? Yeah, you got coordination to go burn stuff up, but where's your coordination to change?
Right.
Where is the person, like in the United States, president speaks for you. In England, prime minister speaks for you. In Russia, I don't know who's in charge over there. But anyway, there's always...
Is it Putin still?
Putin, I believe, yeah. There's always a voice who speaks for the people. And in this time and place, now hopefully this will change. I really hope it does. There is no one who has had the balls to stand up and say, I speak for these people. I believe in these people. And this is what we are all looking for. This is our common goal. This is what we're fighting for. This is what we want. And this is what we're going to do. And put together the people. All the people are a mob right now.
I don't think that there's nobody that would...
There's no unification.
I wouldn't say that there's nobody
there's people who
wouldn't do that, but I would say that
they don't have the personality to do that.
I would say the people who do that are snuffed. They're
very
considered
quickly
crackpots.
Yes.
They're laughed at.
Yeah, but the media and the government
right,
stomp on that really quick.
How do you
rise above that?
Yeah,
and that's why a lot of people, I thought myself of trying to do it, but I'm a realistic person, just like what you said. I've watched time after time after time over the years when someone who was a dreamer, who had people behind them that believed in them, that followed them, they were either totally discredited by the government, and which was usually lies, but it was enough put in the media so everybody believed it, or they were killed. Something was done by the powers that be to take them out one way or another every time.
Okay, so how do you defeat
perfect example.
That's still happening.
Martin Luther King. Yeah, he was a perfect example. He had millions of people that believed in him, and he was a great man. He was one of the foremost speakers of our time for people, not just black people, people.
Yeah.
Because he believed in people. He believed in the common man and the common man's goals. And, like he said, I got a dream. He was a dreamer. The dreamers, the people who can lead like that, most of them are intellectual people. And they've seen what I've seen. You've got to be willing to be a martyr if you're going to do that job. That's how much you got to believe in it. If you're not willing to die, because you will die if you stand up and do something like that. That's just the way the world is. You can't beat the system because the system's too entrenched. But you can further along the movement with your sacrifice. And there's not enough.
That's so troubling to think about.
But it's true.
It's true now.
Yeah.
It's true hopefully, right now. But
I've seen a few ways around that that involve technology, actually. You can be a voice for the people, but you got to be an anonymous voice.
Yeah. You
can't let the government know who you are, where you live, who your family is, because they can be used against you. You have to be like the group Anonymous on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean they made a big impact for a little while, but then they seemed like they got all
weird. Yeah, they went mainstream. But the idea, the concept of Anonymous is one of the greatest ideas I think that's come out in the 20th century.
It goes back to the whole Guy Fawkes situation.
Yeah. It ties back into what we've been talking about all night about, at least in the second part of this podcast, where, people won't change, and the mask, hiding your identity. It's the only way that you can bring about change.
It's that whole I am Spartacus situation.
Yeah, you cannot be like Martin Luther King was. You cannot be the face. You have to be the voice.
Yeah.
We need a voice. We don't need a face to put with that voice, but we need an honest, real voice.
Do you think we can have that now? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's highly possible, actually.
But right
at this moment, I think it's very highly possible. But it will take a very special person like Martin Luther King or a Kennedy or a Reagan. It'll take a person with a big enough personality to put that weight on their shoulders and carry it.
Yeah, but then you have one person. I see.
There's where you come into the organization.
I agree.
You're not one person. You're a group But you speak for the group.
The group needs a leader. I think the group should exist in that manner, but like you said, the leader should be snuffed. Like, should be quiet publicly.
Well, that was the other way I was going to mention later, and you have to do like the mafia did. Nobody knew who the Godfathers were. Right. Godfathers run everything, but all you knew was Sharky on the street who sold you numbers to run for the horses. You didn't know the guy who run the city. You never seen him. Right. You'd meet him on the street and wouldn't know who he was. He's just some old guy.
It's such an odd example because the mafia, they're usually tied into very negative things, but
it's family.
But
that's the root.
Right. But at what point in time does that even become problematic? To have this inner workings of we're part of the family.
It can also
that still is problematic.
Yeah.
We're in such a weird situation.
But we got the technology now. And I really don't know why this hasn't been implemented because the technology is there. You need an organization. Somebody needs to start it. Hell, maybe even you could start it. You need an organization.
Nobody wants me to start anything.
Where you have a program where anybody in the world can access that program. And you put, as the leader or the speaker, whatever you want to call yourself, you put out a set of principles. Okay, this is what I think we should start with as a basis for our dogma, theology, rules, whatever you want to call it, whatever label you want to put on it. But this is what we want to do. No matter what the label is. Right. As a group, this is what we're striving for. Now, what we're going to do now is, this is the beginning. We're going to start with this. Now, you have 3 options. You can vote for this as is, you agree with everything. 2, you can amend this and let everybody vote on that until you come to a consensus, a world consensus, as this is how we want to live. This is our new civilization. This is what we're building. This is how we want to live. And you indoctrinate every person in the world into this so that you all have a voice and you all agree. You have to have unification. And technologically, you could do that. I mean, there's still hackers, people who still attack you and all that crap because there's not enough encryption and security to totally protect anything these days. But that can be developed. With the right people, you get enough brilliant people. See, that's where we're so screwed up. And the Soviets have all these awesome scientists, computer people, technology. The United States got the same thing. China's got that. Japan has it. But they don't let them work together. That's the problem.
That's one of the problems.
Yeah, among many.
I like what you're saying, but it seems
unrealistic. It seems like I say, there has to be things ironed out with everybody.
It seems unrealistic because I'm not so sure that
we're not all
the countries want to do that.
Well, no, it ain't about the countries. See, that's what I'm saying. That's what you got to throw that away.
But you can't right now.
Well, no, you can't right now. But you have to do this in secret.
That's a vision that is just not. It doesn't seem plausible at the moment.
Well, it is possible, but it has to be built. Just like anything.
But when it gets built, I mean, where we're at right now, we'll tear that down, or at least attempt to. And it comes back to that whole alien invasion thing. We need a clean slate. Someone bitch slap the world and be like, "Hey, motherfuckers!"
This is probably high treason. What I'm fixing to say. Basically, we need everybody in the world to basically get rid of our fucking governments because they're who killing us. Every government in the world is fucking got you under their thumb. That's the corruption this world is dealing with. So,
and what's the commonality with that? What's the commonality with all the governments is you have one leader. Exactly. You have one person.
That's what I'm saying.
Leading this way.
You need a new world government.
And these are politicians put in a position, that
That's why I say that system's corrupt.
And we say politicians, and people are like, well, Trump's not a politician. Okay, well, you have politicians and businessmen.
It don't matter. It's still people out for power and who control your life.
And speaking more on a smaller scale, like just, United States right now, start small, go big. United States right now, like, I've really adopted this concept that there should be a panel of, they say that's the cabinet, that's the president's people are these people, but these are all just politicians.
They're all part of the problem. We need people aside from that as a watchdog.
Like an apocalyptic cabinet, if you will. You're going to need the scientists, you're going to need the artists, you're going to need the politician, you're going to need the businessmen that all collectively come up with a unified way to
keep them under control.
Yeah, and to make people happy.
Yeah.
And do it in the best way of being a humanitarian and
that's
what's
what I was
best
talking
for
about
the
before.
people.
Just with the scientist as the example, but basically you're right. You need people to unify from all walks of life.
But we don't have
as a panel, but we don't have that.
It's not even a thought right now.
No, because they don't want you to have that thought.
Right. So
you have to do it on your own.
We have to cut the head off the snake here.
When Martin Luther King started out, he wasn't nothing. He was a preacher, Reverend Martin Luther King. But he had a dream, and he started building on it with nothing but his friends and family and followers. And he built those followers one day at a time, one city at a time, one speech at a time. Every journey begins with one step. Somebody's got to make that step. And yeah, what you were saying earlier about what I was talking about, right now it's a whole total pipe dream because nobody's taking that step.
Right. And
everything's an oak tree starts from an acorn.
Yeah.
And if we want to build a better world, we got to find that acorn and let it grow. It's not going to be overnight.
And
it's
very problematic.
It's a pattern. It's a progression.
It's a double-edged sword of technology.
Oh, yeah.
Technology.
Blessing or a curse.
Now. You do it now.
Yeah.
Things happen instantly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the issue that I think these protesters are having is they're expecting an instant
gratification.
And instant solution to these problems. Defund the police. They want to defund the police because that seems like an instant solution. Well, the police are the problem, so let's get rid of the police. Mm-hmm. Well, that's
stupid because who's going to protect you?
Right, who's going to call when you get robbed? You're going to call when it comes back on you. Yes, the police. That's a whole function. That's a whole situation that needs to be revisited and reconstructed,
and reexamined and reconstructed, just like our government.
Right,
So that's what I'm saying. We have to get together. Just talking about America, this is something I thought, and it's probably like you say, it can be viable if enough people worked at it. Right now, you've got all kinds of different political parties in America, but when it really boils down to it, you got Democrats and Republicans who are on two totally different sides of the fence.
I don't know. I mean,
but then again,
I don't know if it's two totally different sides of the fence.
Well, no, they're all on their side of the fence, basically.
You got the left wing and the right wing.
They're all on the same bird.
Same bird, exactly.
Yeah, and see, what I'm talking about is bringing in a new bird.
Good luck.
Well, that's what I'm saying. First step.
It seems.
Because we need to build up.
It seems like an impossible solution right now. Like bringing a new bird, we can't even get a third fucking candidate.
Oh, see, that's what I'm talking about. Third candidate. I'm talking about starting a whole new political party.
Who was the last third candidate? Ross Perot.
Ross Perot, and they totally made him look like an idiot.
I
mean, he was a little wacky to begin with.
He was kind of like he was like a a Mad Magazine comic book character.
He wasn't. Let me get a couple of the cues of that. Eyes. He was definitely different. But
I got $1.3 million. Yeah. But the point is, even he was like an accident. Like,
see, right now you have to be a millionaire or a billionaire to run for office, for high office. I mean, for senator or House of Representatives, you can be moderate. You can be middle of the road financially.
Right.
But to be in high office, a vice president or a president, you better have some money. And so the days of somebody like Abraham Lincoln winning are done.
Yeah.
Been gone a long time ago.
People that earned off the sweat off their backs.
Yeah. And so we need to bring that back, because that's when our country was great, when real people went to serve us, not rule us.
And just it wasn't even great then. And see, it was on its way to being great.
Yeah, that's what built this country.
There was still.
So what I think, just in my own opinion, which is like assholes, everybody's got one, but I believe we need to start another political entity that ain't about politics. It's about the American people. Where you ain't right, you ain't left, you just want what's best for the country.
But what's best for the country?
But that's what you have to decide, like I say, one step at a time. But you're not Republican, you're not Democrat, you want to see America survive. You're the middle of the two extremes.
Yeah, like a purple America.
Yeah.
Dale Barnes, I hear what you're saying, but it sounds, it doesn't seem realistic right now. It's
because somebody's done it.
Right. But
nobody thought we could fly either.
Until somebody flew.
Until somebody flew. Nobody thought we'd ever be in space. All dreams have to be imagined first and then put into like science. It has to be put through experiments until you find how to make it work. And that's the thing with our country. If we don't start an experiment to find out a better way to make this place work, we won't be America very much longer. Because the other countries who are in better shape than we are, got better organization than we do, they'll take us over. Because we're going to be so chaotic, so mob induced, that we're going to lose our economy, we're going to lose our political structure. We're
losing our economy now.
We're broke as fuck.
We were wiped out by a goddamn pandemic.
Yeah, and now, that drops on our head. Actually, our economy was finally starting to actually do decent for the first time in 30 years. Since I've been alive, we were actually in a pretty decent economy. It wasn't great, but it was a lot better than what it has been. And then, boom, pandemic.
Boom, nature.
Yeah.
Or some sort of version of nature.
some kind of catastrophe. And now everything's spiraling out of control. I mean, there's so many divisions as Americans we're going through right now.
And that continues on with the world.
So it's not just us. That's why I was saying earlier, it's a worldwide problem. There is a vast amount of unrest in the people of this world. And we're, I wouldn't say we're heading for Armageddon. I don't think it's that bad yet. But I do believe that if this continues on the way it's going, several established so-called superpowers are going to fall. The world's going to change.
It needs to change.
It needs a change.
It needs to fall.
Yeah, but it's back to the fear factor. Will that be a good thing or a bad thing? But it's going to.
Well, it's going to be a bad thing first.
I mean, on the road we're on right now, we're looking at some hard. That's why I wrote that song I just wrote recently, "Hard Times Coming," because we're looking at some real hard times in the next 5 years. Horrible times. I mean, a lot of people are going to suffer. I mean, that's if everything goes great. It's still going to be horrible. Because we have lost, so many people are homeless, so many people are out of work, so many people are just fucking broke.
Well, yeah, and
their whole life.
You have this added problem of, businesses going under, people being broke, livelihoods being, completely destroyed off of something that was
almost imaginary.
Yeah,
it's real.
Off of a fucking virus.
Yeah,
and
that's been blown out of proportion.
And let me rephrase it. It's not because of the virus, how the virus was handled. And
it's the people we left in charge and how they're handling it.
Right. I mean, hell, we can all go to Walmart, put a mask on, we're fine. But you know,
they can't drink liquor after 10 o'clock though, or you'll get coronavirus.
Or mom and pop, you know, they had to close down their business for 4 months. You know, they're barely surviving because they're just trying to make meals and pay their bills. Well, they went under because
they can't make the bills and because they got no
customers. Why were they closed down? But you know, Walmarts and Kroger's weren't.
Exactly.
You know, like that doesn't make any sense.
The people who this is one thing is a real button with me. Who the fuck gave you the right to say I'm essential or non-essential? Fuck you.
Yeah.
We're all fucking essential.
Apparently we did.
You know, yeah, apparently we were
we did. Apparently there was some, you know, some.
But see, none of this stuff is. Listen, another thing that gets me. None of this stuff is law. It's not in the Constitution. We haven't voted on it.
I don't remember.
We were told
this
what
is
to do.
Not the responsibility of a governor.
Yeah.
This is not. He doesn't. They shouldn't have the ability to make that
he shouldn't
call.
have that power. And we shouldn't.
That's too much power for one person to have.
And we should not pay a damn bit of attention to anything he says. But we all are. I mean, so many people are so scared.
Well, yeah, because they see these viral videos of, you know, the one guy on the beach, you know, not wearing a mask being carted away to jail because he's not wearing a mask. Carted away to the same jail where they're releasing prisoners because of COVID. What the fuck?
Exactly. I mean, the thought processes, I have to sit back and admit, totally, absolutely amazed at the idiocy of this whole situation. It blows my mind. And the fact that everyday Americans and Russians and Chinese and Japanese all put up with this shit and ain't said nothing blows my mind.
Well, do you think, you know, there's that conspiracy thought that this is all a way to control here?
This is something I've thought about, and I've been watching kind of from the cheap seats for a long time. I do believe that the people who have the power in this world, not your politicians, they don't have any power. I mean, they think they do.
They're put in place by the people that have the power.
Exactly.
Yeah, the George Carlin way of thinking.
Yeah, there are certain people like Vanderbilts, Rockefellers, you know, certain key influential people who have trillions of dollars.
The people that truly run.
They really run the world. And all these people are buddies because they run the world together. And they are pushing to have total control of the world. I mean, they already do basically, but there's still us little crazy people out here that don't quite follow the plan. So you add more controls to round us up and keep us under control because we're the ones that start shit. So they are trying to put in line, like Bush said this years ago, because he's one of their little flunkies. He was CIA for years. He was head of the intelligence in America. They are seeking a new world one order. And maybe that's not a bad thing. You know, if we had one set of rules.
Well, it depends on who's seeking it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with it. I mean, I can actually agree with the one world order if it's done correctly. But I don't agree with it if it's done by power-hungry people who just get a kick out of manipulating you.
Well, they're the ones that can afford to.
Because they can't afford to manipulate you. They can afford to pay for it. But, you know, that's what I'm saying. Actually, the world would be a better place if we had one set of rules everybody went by. Everybody would know what was going on.
Yeah.
This is what we do. And so you wouldn't have to worry if you went to England because they got the same rules you had in America. You wouldn't have to worry if you went to South America because it's the same rules, same laws, same rights. That would be a wonderful thing. But who puts that together is the scary part.
Yeah.
Who makes those rules?
You know,
and what are those rules going to be?
And in America, we think it's this, this clown we see, you know, in and out every 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, I've truly adopted the George Carlin way of
me too. George is my hero
of thinking in this aspect. You know, this country is bought and paid for a long time ago.
Yes,
and when you guys have that 3-ring circus every 4 years, I'm keeping my ass at home.
I do too.
You know, like that's
George is my hero.
Yeah,
George is one of the most realistic people to ever walk the face of the planet.
Yeah,
he questioned everything. He was a master of the English language. And he was so intellectual that he took nothing at face value. He investigated it and found out. And he had this thing where stupidity pissed him off. And he would bring it blatantly out front and show you that it was stupid. And he was great at it.
Yeah, and not to say that everything he said was
no,
right.
no.
You know,
he had some really strange ideas too.
Of this, that, the
I
other.
mean, because he was a comedian, he had to make a living. He had to come up with some off the wall stuff.
Right. He had an outsider's point of view.
Yeah.
You know, and again,
on the outside looking in.
Right, and again, to steal his own words, you know, he said, you know, the world is a play. He says, I'm just in the fortunate situation to have a front row seat.
Yeah.
You know, and observe it, and I can laugh at it.
Yeah. That's basically how I look at it.
But it's also a travesty, you know,
God,
because he's not directing the play. And
nobody is.
He's in no position to direct a play.
None of us are.
You know, and it's. I agree with you, Dale. Like or with Reagan even, that this world needs we need to be spanked by some fucking aliens to
get our shit together.
Yeah. Because right now, and I know people have said this for decades and decades, and who knows, thousands of years maybe, ever since, you know, a government was a government.
Yeah.
You know, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, you know, any day now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But truly, the people's voice means almost nothing right now.
Yeah.
You know, I keep seeing, you know, even with these Black Lives Matters, you know, protests, I keep seeing bones thrown at it. Yeah, they're throwing bones. Ooh, cool. All right.
Oh, yeah, we'll throw you a little media coverage. You do what you're doing because it's helping our cause.
Yeah, Seattle, you know, they defund their police. So here you go, guys. Go to Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, but
they're being led around by their noses, man, by the people who are really in control. You know, they're being sent to do stuff to disrupt things to make this particular party or set of people more money.
And now the, protests are still going on in many places, you know, around the world even.
Yeah.
But in Columbus, you don't hear about it much anymore here.
No.
Yeah, it's Columbus has become very obedient, you know, and maybe something will change. We'll see. We'll find out. And then it's going to get brushed under the rug is my fear.
Well, personally myself, and I'm not really a doomsayer kind of guy. I'm just an observant person. And I've watched a lot of history and I study history. I'm a very avid student of history.
You and Anya would get along that way.
And
she's a very
just from watching the world picture, the next 3 weeks in America is going to be pretty damn trippy.
No, you talking about when
all this whole election thing? Yeah, it's going to be pretty damn trippy because they've been gouging at each other for power for the last 4 years, and it has got totally out of control. I mean, they've gotten to the point where they don't even care, you know, they're corrupt. They just want power. I want to be in charge. And it's that way on both sides. There's nobody in our government who gives a shit about Stevie Cade and Dale Barnes. They could give a fuck whether we exist. Same thing for anybody in this neighborhood or anybody in this country.
We let them
do that, and we forgot. We have forgotten we're the ones who gave them that power. It can be taken away. But we've forgotten that part. We're used to them being in control.
I mean,
letting them do stuff, let them run stuff, because then we don't have to worry with it. We've forgotten the power of the American people to stand up and say, fuck no. We didn't put you there for that. Get the hell out. We're going to put somebody else in there who can actually take care of business. And we forgot we have that power because we've been lulled into this sense of, I'll take care of you. It's all good. You just go back home. You do your little job. You stay in your little zone. Don't jump out of your zone. You stay in your zone. Know your place. Keep working. Keep the machine rolling. And I'll take care of you. Well, it's not supposed to be that way. They're supposed to serve you. That's what the government was supposed to do. It was not put to rule you. It was supposed to serve the American public. So you didn't have to worry about that shit. That's why you put them in there in the first place.
Yeah,
but we've let that go. We've let them pass so many laws that it's gave them more and more and more power to be as corrupt as they want to be. And we've sat back and let it happen. We've been, what's the word for that? Complacent. Yeah. Too long. We have not stood up as Americans, as individuals, as people, for our rights since the 60s.
Or not together.
That's what I'm saying.
There's sections of us.
Yeah, there's sections of us that are rebelling. But as a group of American people, we have not stood up and said no since the 60s.
Well, think about, remember that stuff that it seems like a million years ago, but when they were laying that pipeline down through Indian reservations, and, and that whole debacle.
They brutalized those people.
Right, but
nobody would stand with them at Standing Rock.
But they stood there. They stood
there.
They were there.
Them people I have so much respect for them. We were watching
this terrible thing happen.
And none of us said nothing, didn't do nothing, didn't support them.
And then they ended up laying it anyway.
Yeah. And the same thing with those ranchers in Montana that took over that little forestry building. They played them. They played them like a violin. They let them think everything was going good. First time they left, they arrested them and killed one of them.
So this is the
even
big question
put psychos in the mix. Waco.
Oh yeah, I was in Texas when that happened.
Where is America's common decency to burn up fucking children on live TV? When the hell did we let that start happening? Yeah, he's a fucking kook. There's a lot of kooks. You don't have to go in there with military and burn him out. That could have been handled so differently. Yeah. But we have grown so callous and so accustomed to brutality. We don't give a shit no more.
Well, and people have grown to think that everything's so far away.
Yeah.
It's almost,
well, yeah, I'd like to go to Standing Rock, but hell, man, that's like 900 miles.
Well, not just that, but it seems like, like a television show.
Yeah.
It seems like fiction that you're watching.
Yeah, you disassociate yourself with it. You don't.
Yeah, that's not reality. That's reality for over there.
Ain't got nothing to do with me.
Let me turn on the news and watch this episode.
Yeah. I'm gonna watch The Simpsons.
People are so disconnected.
Yes.
From
we have been made callous to other people's hurt, to other people's pain.
Well, yeah, I mean, callous could be a word. Yeah, I mean, callous.
Disassociated.
Callous kind of insinuates.
I think it's more of disassociation.
Yeah, that's
we have disassociated ourselves from other people because.
In reality,
we've become New Yorkers. We don't want to get involved. That's basically us right now.
Think about this. I want to kind of switch gears here a little bit, but think about 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. What if the government came out 30 years ago and said, we have aircraft that have not come from this world? What if the government said that? 30.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been a huge fucking thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
The government said that earlier this year.
Yeah, and nobody said nothing.
Nobody's given it's fallen off the face of the fucking planet.
It just got buried in the fucking news feeds.
It's like, hey, we have aliens and here's a national pandemic.
Yeah.
What?
It just got hidden in the pile. Yeah, I thought the same thing when that came out when they actually come out and say, okay, this is real flying saucers that we have filmed. And then poof, it's done. You don't hear nothing else. Nobody cares. It's the greatest acknowledgement in science in the history of the fucking world. Right. We've actually been visited by people from another planetary or
I'm going to look up
dimensional
the actual
system. Yeah. It just, it amazes me. I mean, I followed that kind of stuff since I had my first experience back in the 60s, 70s. And so I've always been curious about that. And, I've seen the battle for the Blue Book records and stuff. Well, we'll get into that.
Well, I think we might be leading into that here. Pentagon admits UFO program still exists, but... No, okay, hold up.
Well, just the video in itself should have been worldwide shocking.
Of this thing that flies around different directions.
Yeah.
At, amazing, phenomenal speeds and what have you. Yeah.
And the thing is, there are thousands upon thousands of people all over the world has been fighting for this information for years, and then it finally comes out, and the world don't really give a shit. They said they were hiding this stuff for years because they thought the world would freak out. Well, it's didn't happen. We didn't freak out. We just accepted it. And, okay, well, that's nice, but it has nothing to do with me. That's basically it.
I don't know. I was very surprised by the lack of reaction of this.
Oh, I was too. I mean, to me, that was an earth-shattering revelation.
Right? The government just admit we have we have aircrafts that
there
did
is
not
alien
come from
intelligence.
This world.
Yeah, we have some of that stuff. But see,
what the fuck does that mean? What do you mean by this? What do you have that didn't come from this world? Why aren't we diving more into this? And was that news coming out or them admitting that?
What else are you not telling us?
Why are you telling us?
And why are you telling us?
Why are you telling us now?
I thought personally myself, when Trump announced the Space Force, I'm like, well, finally, they're going to actually come out and say something real. And they did. Wasn't too long right after he announced we now have a new Space Force, that they come out and admitted we have had interplanetary visitors. We've had Space Force for a long time. It's just now publicly acknowledged.
Right. Yeah, Men in Black is now Space Force.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean...
so what, you think them making that quote was just to support the Space Force?
No, I think it was acknowledging that we got more going on militarily than we have told you. There's more things happening in this world that we are part of that we have not told you. And here's a little tidbit just to give you an idea of what's going on.
It only took 70 years.
Yeah, after so many years of fighting to get it, they finally admit to it. I had something I wanted to really bring out and tell you, and I forgot what it was. Oh. The reason, me personally, that was not shocking to me is I used to live in Roswell, New Mexico. I've talked to the family of the people who found the UFO that crashed there. I knew them people. I talked to them. I lived in the same town with them for like 2 years. I partied with them. Now, you look at where we were in technology in 1949.
Oh, yeah. There was a huge upsurge.
Where we...
After that.
Computers, just computers for an example, not anything else, but just computers. In 1949, a computer was bigger than this room.
Right.
And basically it was nothing more than an adding machine. That's all it was. It was an adding machine with punch cards. That's all it was. 20 years later, 1960s, we have Cray supercomputers. 20 years later, 1980s, we have personal computers. 20 years later, we have handheld computers you carry in your pocket with terabytes worth of storage. Back in the 80s, a gig was considered awesome.
Yeah.
Now we have terabytes.
I got so many flash drives in that drawer there that can hold hundreds of thousands of gigs.
All through civilized times since history began, technology has never, ever in history develop that fast. We had help. And that's why I know we had help, because I do study history. Just common example, firearm. How many years did we have matchlocks and flintlocks before somebody got the bright idea to make a repeater? Before somebody got the bright idea to make different kind of gunpowder that would shoot farther and harder and faster.
Yeah, it took
so
years,
many
years of evolution.
Years and years of to go from the bow to the Browning 45 caliber machine gun.
Right.
And yet computers, which is a hell of a lot more technical, and 50 years has jumped light years.
And it was almost like a turning point.
Almost
like
in our society.
Yeah, it was like, it's like, oh, one day was this, the next day was that.
Yeah. And for things to jump that fast is not natural evolution. This is a helping hand from somewhere.
Well, you said you talked to the people that found the wreckage?
Yeah.
What did they say?
According to them, there were bodies and there was a craft. And they were told that if they said anything to anybody, their whole complete family would disappear. The government promised them that they would either go to prison or they would just disappear.
And they decided to tell you?
Well, it was after the gag order. I mean, this happened in 49. I was there in 79. It's 30 years later.
Yeah.
And they didn't tell me the first time I met them.
It kind of died down.
Yeah, it had died down.
The most part.
And, the locals all knew. I mean, everybody locally who lived out there in that time, they knew the government was talking bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, what the story that first came out was the only truth the government ever said. The day they said they found a flying saucer, that was the truth. Everything after that was whitewash.
All right, so now, fast forward, so many years later, the government comes out, says, yeah, we have objects in our possession that did not come with this.
Because now
from this planet.
They have desensitized you over the years with media that we accept that. It's not a big deal no more. Back then, it was a world-changing event. But now, we've got movies of Independence Day.
But why tell us about it?
Because they ain't got no choice. It's gotten too damn obvious.
I don't even think that's it. What do they care about that?
Well,
what I'm scared of, Dale?
I believe they got something else they're fixing to lay down on us.
See, that's
the stepping stone.
That's what I'm thinking. And maybe they're not even going to lay down on us.
It could be the other ones that
they might be prepping us.
Well, there are certain people,
But if they are, we get confirmation from the government that we have, things on this
different
planet,
entities, yes,
yeah, that in their possession from a different world. Space Force starts its ground. What's about to happen, and when?
Yeah. I actually do believe, I have went down a lot of rabbit holes on that topic. I do follow just about every nut on the internet that has a theory. I've checked it out, considered it, either threw it in the trash or like, no, you might be right, dude.
Yeah.
Intellectually, I've looked at all of it. And there's a very high possibility that not only are we visited very regularly from creatures or people or whatever hell you want to call them, whatever label you want to put on them, but entities from other worlds. I've been coming here for...
Or dimensions.
Another
theory.
Or time. They've been coming here for millennia. And...
Go back to the pyramids and all this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think our whole world, the governments of our world, are aware of this. And have been either working for them or along those lines. I'm saying? They are in contact. And there's a whole new program that's going on behind the scenes we have no clue about. I mean, I've also run into things where there's actually, this one I'm kind of on the fence on, but theologically, in theory, it's possible. that there are actually underground alien civilizations that's been on this planet for thousands of years. And if you really check into Antarctica, there's something really fucked up going on down there.
What's going on in Antarctica?
See, you're an intelligent person and you have no clue.
Not a clue.
And I only heard
anything about underground civilizations in Antarctica.
Okay.
Not a clue.
There's on the underground civilizations, we'll start on that one first. There is a guy, you can look on YouTube.
Bust out your mile-long list.
Oh, yeah, you have no idea how much useless information is bound in my mind. But anyway, there's a guy, and I've watched him several times in several different interviews he gave before he was killed. He used to work for the government out west, and they had discovered underground caves, and he was a tech guy, and he was sent down with special forces soldiers to investigate it. Well, they come across, I don't know if you call, let's just say entities, that's what we've been using. They've come across subterranean entities that were hostile to them and attacked them. And he described the attacks. He said that he got shot and it blew off 3 of his fingers and took out half his abdomen, and that all the other squad he was with, only one soldier made it out, and that was the one that dragged him out. And the dude got no fingers. He pulls up his shirt and he shows the scars. And he says, you know, you can believe me or not, but it's real. It's happening, and there's a war going on underground right now between our military and these people, that they've been fighting it for years for dominance. You know, no, really, you know, and he's not the only one that's come out and said this. And these guys are scientists. These aren't just Joe Blow off the street. These guys got college degrees out the ass. Like, this guy was like really high level professor. So he knew, saying this, he was putting his career in the fucking toilet by even coming out and talking about this. And he was killed later. Once he started doing these, what do you call it, like speaking engagements for the MUFON and UFO community, he was killed. And there's several examples of that. But, you know, like I say, I'm kind of theory.
That's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, it is. But in theory, maybe it's possible. But I ain't really a firm believer in it.
Yeah, it doesn't sound.
But this guy,
it doesn't sound like
you
something
watch
that
him,
would.
If you watch him, he seems straight up, man. And if you look at his credentials, he has no reason to come out and just make this shit up.
Well, but now you're presuming.
Not even for sensationalism.
I mean, now you're presuming, but like, I'm not accusing you of presuming, but
yeah,
that's a presumption.
But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's enough craziness there that you can't really take it at word value.
Well, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
that's my first takeaway.
Well, if you study
from that.
history, actually, it does. If you study the Native American culture, their origins, their Adam and Eve stories, fits right in with it.
Okay, so
you study the Hopi, you study the Navajo. They believe they came from a hole in the ground. They believe that they live with other creatures underground before they came up. They speak of this as the 4th age that we're living in now, of the up part of the world.
Okay, but if you tell me, you know,
but yeah, the
ancient humans live underground.
Oh yeah, that's definitely possible.
I would be more prone to believe that. If you tell me aliens live underground, that
well, no,
make any sense.
I'm not saying they're aliens. I'm saying they're entities.
Right,
they're
right.
a different.
You did choose that word, but
yeah, they're different species than us. According to this guy, they were actually reptilian, which would make a lot of sense underground.
Oh, the reptilian theory.
And that's,
I can't get behind.
Well, I've never seen it. Like I say, it's kind of hard for me to swallow too. But
well,
stranger things have happened.
Have stranger things happened?
Yes.
Other than a reptilian.
I mean, I've
population?
even read where there were actually pink and blue people at one time.
Okay, so I've never really dove down the rabbit hole of the reptilian.
That's what I'm saying. Though there's a lot of stuff out there.
I've never dove into that because when I read that, I just dismissed it.
Yeah,
and I saw videos, and every video I saw looked like a fucking hack job of Photoshop.
I've seen that too. Like I say, I dive real deep down these rabbit holes.
I don't.
But
it doesn't.
Here's the thing.
Evolutionary. With evolution, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We didn't come from reptiles.
No, they're not our ancestors.
Okay,
but who's to say they weren't a different species product?
Right, you know what I mean? But when you say people can be reptilian.
Well, they're not people. They're a different species. See, that's where people get tied up.
Then why are they underground?
Because we outnumber them, for one thing. They don't have the technology we do, for two. It's the only place they're safe. All that stuff makes common sense.
That doesn't add up to me.
I mean,
I feel like in this day and age, one of these motherfuckers could come up from underground, pop in front of a camera, and be like, "Hey, we're real.
Yeah,
we're here. They're going to kill us, join us, or save us, or do something."
Yeah, but see, from their history, that would be suicide.
Well, yeah, but is the life they're living?
Well, maybe. Who knows? We don't know what's down there.
Might be a fucking.
Hell, they may have nirvana down there. We don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, just discounting them altogether, but you look at the cavern systems in the world, there's a lot of open space under there that you could put God knows what in. Just here in Kentucky, how many hundreds of miles of caves is in Mammoth Caves?
Right. Yeah.
And there's caves like that all over the world. There's a complete subterranean world. We have no clue what's down there. And I'm not saying there's creatures live down there. I'm saying that is there, though. The subterranean areas are there. And we have no clue what's in it. Now, enough of those little weird things.
You say what sent it? Is that what you said?
No.
We don't know. We don't have a clue what sent it?
No, we don't have a clue what's there.
Oh, okay.
Shit, anything could be down there. Hell, Atlantis could be down there for all we know. We don't know.
Well, yeah,
We've never been there yet.
To me, every time I read about people finding things in caves, it's pretty much literally something that we know of, but like a very skewed branch off that evolutionary tree.
Yeah.
That you can have a possum that a whole
Well,
family of possums that are now adapt to live in the dark, can breathe underwater, see through eyelids or some bullshit.
There's other things that I could throw at you that go along with that, but I'd rather tell you about Antarctica because this is all facts. You can look it up on the internet.
Oh well, yeah, that's where facts live, right?
And actually, you can
I'm not downplaying what you're saying.
Yeah, you can go to libraries and look this up. It's actually printed material too. This is history, and it's still going on. After World War II, America and England thought that the Russians had, not the Russians, but the Germans, Hitler, had submarine bases in Antarctica. So when Germany fell, a lot of top-ranking SS officers, top-ranking scientists disappeared off the face of the earth. They were never accounted for when they were doing all the the war trials and all that stuff. Nobody knew where they were. They still haven't been found. Nobody knows what happened to them. Lots of them. The guys building the V-2 rockets, the high echelon generals.
And that was a theory.
No, this is real. This is history.
So they know
they know these people disappeared. They know they were real, and they know they were in Germany at a certain point in time, and then they're gone. All of them are gone. And it's like several hundred people. If you really get into studying the historical documents and all that stuff, which a lot of them probably changed their name, went to South America, or went to Russia. God knows where they went. They disappeared. Or got killed. And during all the
hundreds of holes is not many holes to dig,
So, like I said, basically, England and the Allies were pretty sure Hitler had built submarine bases in Antarctica. And at the time, Antarctica was not explored. People had been there trying to find South Pole, And Admiral Byrd was one of those people. He went down there on an expedition for the government, funded by the government. And you can look this interview up online. It's a very old interview from the 40s. He went down there and flew and traveled over Antarctica. And when he came back, he gave an interview. He's like,
What's his name?
Admiral Byrd. And when he came back, he gave an interview to Lon Giants Symphony, which was like a big thing back in the days. They were like a big record company, big media producer company. And, you know, he was the hero of the day. He'd done something that nobody had done. He had been down to the South Pole. And he gave an interview with them. And he told them about all the vast resources.
1954, sound about right?
No, that's too late.
Too late.
It was in the 40s. Yes, 40s, black and white interview.
Hold on. Give me a second here.
And, he described all the wonderful things he had seen. That looks kind of like it. Yep, Admiral Richard E. Byrd. I don't think that's the interview, though, because it was Lon Giants Symphony that done the interview. I think this is a military clip from either Operation Paperclip or Operation High Jump.
So yeah, I need somebody to like. If this podcast takes off, I need somebody to look this shit up so
so you can have your information all together to edit it in,
or just have them look it up for me.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that there I think is all part of the original expedition, but we hadn't even got to the weirdness yet.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Well, that's the icebreaker Atka, and it's a reconnaissance expedition. It's going down to the South Pole area to make certain observations and to look for some bases. They will be back in April, and they will report back, and upon the information we get from that undertaking, we will base the bigger expedition that's to follow.
Is that very definitely planned, or is that...
that is being planned right now. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, at the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, Admiral Byrd, I can understand, I think everybody can, the interest in the North Pole because it's so near our greatest challenger, Soviet Russia, but why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. But more important than that, it has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime. Because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources.
That's what I'm talking about.
And, as the world swings with an ever-increasing...
Okay. All right, so he's talking about...
now, he's been there, and he's telling you, okay, and he goes on later to explain this, that there are vast amounts of natural resources there. Now, we live in an energy-hungry world, and they're still there. And it's not because of the brutality of getting it out. I mean, we got oil fields in Alaska. We got oil fields in the North Bering Sea where it's just as frigid, just as dangerous as the South Pole. And some places maybe even worse. But this is just a prelude to let you know that at this point in time, Admiral Byrd believed that Antarctica was the new frontier, that there were scientific discoveries to be made. You know, he had flown over the South Pole, and he believed there were scientific discoveries to be made there. He believed that there were vast coal supplies there, and if I remember right in this interview, he goes on to tell you that there are places in Antarctica where it's 70 degrees. I mean, we're talking a continent as big as America down there, never touched. Okay, then we jump forward a little bit of time to this expedition he was talking about, that they'd already sent the icebreaker down there. Okay, the information they brought back stirred up interest. Like I say, this was when he's giving this interview, I think it was before the end of the war. But after the war, like I said, England, the United States, they believed there were Nazi submarine bases down there. And that's why, he didn't say it in this interview, but that's why the original expedition went down there, was to look for a place called Maudland, which is where Schwabiland, which they believed that was where the Nazis had their submarine bases at, and that they actually had pretty good outfit going on down there, just in case they lost the war. So, the United States gave Byrd several warships, several planes, over 4,000 enlisted military personnel went on Operation High Jump to the South Pole. Something down there, whether it be the weather or something we were never told about, something kicked their fucking ass.
When you say kicked their ass, what do you mean?
He lost warships, he lost planes, he lost people.
Like they just disappeared?
No.
Like
there was military engagement. They militarily got their butt stomped.
So this is what ties into this underground civilization.
Well, no. This is something totally different.
Oh, okay.
This is facts. This ain't conjecture. Okay.
So I thought this tied into what you were going into.
Well, possibly.
But
that is a theory that's part of this conspiracy of Antarctica. But the facts, that's all I'm talking about now. It's just facts you can look up in historical records. He went down there, lost a lot of people, lost 4 or 5 warships, bunch of planes, and come back with his tail between his legs. Within a very short amount of time, all the big nations of the world were called together and signed a treaty to leave Antarctica the hell alone. That's why you cannot go there now. Me and you, we can't go to Antarctica.
So this ties in with the Hitler.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, that's why they went there. But I don't know what they found. Nobody does. Yeah, I mean, there's some other stuff. You start watching Operation High Jump, some of the clips on that, and there's a Russian things, because the Russians were our allies at that time, and they done their own filming of what happened in Operation High Jump, and it's totally different from the crap they show you in the American newsreels that they have of High Jump. I mean, there's actually battles on the Russian videotape. It's hard to find. It took me about 3 months to dig it up on the internet. But that actually shows battles in black and white of whatever the world they were fighting. Every country in the world, every major country, I think there's like 50-something countries signed the original one, made a compact that the only thing they will do in Antarctica is be on the outskirts and do scientific stuff. Nobody goes to the interior. Nobody. I don't care who you are. It's protected militarily by several different countries, so you cannot go there. Now, that was the beginning. This was in, I think, 50s when they made this, or late 40s, early 50s is when this agreement was signed by all the countries in the world, all the powerful countries, that had money or whatever. So then, that agreement was for 50 years, I think. So when John Kerry, remember when he ran for president? Mm-hmm. Okay, all the stuff come up and he got kind of shuffled to the side, and I think it would end up being Hillary and Obama that ran.
Yeah.
Okay. Election day.
Well, it was actually Hillary's the one that jumped ship, I believe, in that election. She sided with Obama, and I think it was.
Yeah, I don't remember how the political station was, but anyway.
That's neither here nor there.
But
right.
John Kerry was a major political figure in the public eye, very much so. And this is election day. You know where he was that day? John Kerry was in Antarctica. 2 weeks later, the Russian Pope stopped at the Vatican, spoke with the Italian Pope, and where did he go? Antarctica. Now, I know he ain't preaching to penguins down there. And I know Kerry didn't go down there to take pictures of penguins. A few months later, after both these major political figures went down there for undisclosed reasons, the contract came back up, due to be re-signed. Every nation in the world, you can look this up, it's all facts. Every nation in the world signed a contract to leave it alone for another 50 years.
So what do you propose is going on?
I don't know. That's what I'm investigating. There is something there that has every nation in the world scared shitless. I don't know what it is. I have no conjecture, no theory. But there is something there that our greedy countries of the world who would jump on an oil strike, a major coal vein, any kind of natural resource, they'd fight each other tooth and nail for it, have all agreed to leave it the fuck alone. Now that tells you right there, something ain't right. Because we have, as a world, and all these countries, they have never agreed on anything.
Well, he's saying that...
now this is all pre-high jump.
But he's saying, there's a huge natural resources under there. And all these governments, probably want to go there and tap into these resources, all the different nations and what have you. Okay, so if we're going down this hole here,
no, I'm just saying this is a main thing that I stumbled onto that I don't understand yet.
Hear me out, Dale. And this is something I was thinking before,
right?
But it seems to be more prominent. I don't know. I'm really just talking out of my ass here.
Yeah.
What if there is a one world nation that exists that is
based down there?
Well, not even based down there. That is controlling everything, and even all the continents,
right.
all the different countries, all the governments, are even fully privy to it, of who's really pulling the strings of this whole world order. I mean, here we are in 2020. Why wouldn't there be one entity controlling everything? And if it were, it would not surprise me to be secret.
Yeah.
And probably controlled by the elites and, the oil companies and the billionaires of the world. Now, you have all these different countries going down there, and they've come to the agreement that you just leave it alone. Well, why would you do that unless you got Big Daddy down there
saying leave it alone? So I'm saying somebody is in control of that area that every nation on the world kowtows to. That's what I'm saying. Something or somebody has said, that's mine. Leave it alone, or there will be consequences. And they're scary enough that even the United States, Russia, China, Japan, Europe, all say, yes, boss, I leave it alone. I ain't messing with it.
And that's lizard people.
Who knows, man? It could be damn 16-foot penguins for all I know.
That scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, it would too. That'd give me nightmares. Oh shit, man! I shouldn't have smoked that.
Okay, well, I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. This is something I stumbled on just in the last 2 years or 3 years. I've been investigating this, and there, it's like any conspiracy theories. There's a lot of little rabbit holes you can dive down. This person believes that. This person believes this. But I've just so far, I haven't really dived into conspiracy theories. I mean, I've read them, and I'm not really sold on any of them. But I'm smart enough to know there's something going on there that we are not being told. And the whole world and every world power are in on it.
Well,
which is scary enough by itself.
All right, to me, it's something that would control the governments the worldly governments enough would have to be a bigger worldly government, a unified worldly government. You know,
there is some, you know, like we were talking earlier, there is something down there, or somebody down there, that scares the living shit out of every superpower on this planet. And that takes some doing.
That would have to be that to me, and like thinking in the mindset of let's cancel out lizard people. Let's cancel out aliens.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's
just looking at history and just logical things.
Out all
facts.
Those, you know.
Looking at real facts you can look at. Just that tells you there's something going on.
There's something going on.
Don't say what, but it does tell you, you know, from the failed military operation, the unification of all countries to agree on something which has never happened in the whole history of the planet, and to do it twice. That's the really scary part. Not only did they agree once to leave it the hell alone, they renewed it and added more countries that have actually grown in prominence since the 40s. So they've let these other countries in on what's going down there too. They ain't told us, but there's a reason. And as far as facts, you know, I got Google Earth just like everybody else does. You know, and I check out Antarctica on Google Earth. 90% of Antarctica, even though it can be photographed from satellites, is blank on Google Earth. You can't even pull up terrain. Nothing. All you got is just, you got like the 300-mile view from space. That's all you get. And now if you go on the coast, you can go down and look at buildings where they got scientific places. But 90% of the continent is blacked out. You can't see nothing. Try Google Earth one time and check it out. Little weird things like that are facts.
So what do you propose? Like, what do you think? Are you still
I'm just
chewing on
curious. I'm curious. I mean, to me, you know, as just an average person, I think it's just kind of funny as hell that the world governments would all agree to something without fighting about it for 40 years. I mean, they signed that contract like that.
You know, there has to be a bigger situation.
There's a bigger agenda going on that they made there wasn't no announcement about this contract. There was no public announcement about it. You got to look in the files of the UN to find that. It was a resolution passed by every country.
Oh, that's probably those
behind
are probably
closed
gone.
doors, and probably, like you say, it's probably not even in their archives now because it's not something they want, you know, well known. But there's a few people like me who've kind of added up and said, that's weird, and have been checking it out. I mean, you know, I follow some of them sometimes. Like I say, I'm still investigating.
And
I mean, I've heard
now it's just stories, and now there's just theories. There's
no more facts up to what I told you. The last fact,
it's impenetrable. You can't get past.
You can't
whatever
get past the security.
That was.
Yeah, the last fact that pertains to this story was the signing of the resolution for all the countries to leave it alone for another 50 years. That happened back in 2000. So that contract, or whatever you want to call it, legislation, will not be revisited until 2050 is when it comes up for renewal. You know, so as...
Well, the world's going to have to be in a fucked up place for them to be like, well, here's what's going on here.
Now, here's one thing that I do know is there. And I think I looked for like 2 years before I found this. And it was really obscure, and then I had to track it down and do a lot of research to confirm it. The World Health Organization has made a thing called the Ark. And it is an Armageddon feature that in case we all blow ourselves to shit,
right,
and ruin the planet, they have got seeds, DNA, everything you would need genetically and agriculturally to rebuild the world in a place down there. And I've seen the building. I mean, I've seen the entrance. You know, I've seen the specs. You know what I mean? You know, it's a real thing. I mean, it's highly secure, of course, like Cheyenne Mountain. I mean, it's very highly protected, very highly secured. Well, and that's just one thing I know is there, but you can't find that on Google Maps either.
But that sounds like it's a positive thing almost.
Yeah, that's a positive thing.
Well, to an extent. I mean, whose genetics do they have? You know,
exactly.
Like, you know, what
that's
you can kind of mold the world.
Yeah, that's a whole other ball of wax. But at least somebody, and whoever's running this one world government shit or whatever, at least somebody's figured out shit might hit the fan, and we're going to need to rebuild, and we need stuff put back to save. And in one way, I think that may be the whole purpose behind the secrecy. It may be like our last bastion of, what's the right word? The last sanctuary of civilization in case what we got now collapses.
Yeah, the last resort, yeah.
Last resort. That's our last resort as a planet to further generate the human species if we decide to just go stupid and obliterate ourselves. You know,
or whatever. I mean, we can even tie this into, you know, an alien invasion. You know,
yes,
okay,
all of that's tied into this. This is, like I said, this isn't a apocalyptic stopgap measure.
Well, then that proposes to me that there's multiple of them, because I mean, let's say we get hit by a comet, a meteorite, flying through space, and it happens to hit Antarctica. Well, there goes all that shit.
Well, that's why I was fixing to tell you that's not the only one.
Right.
There's actually one that I've heard rumors of, but haven't confirmed, in Alaska, and there's also one further up into the North Pole. So I've heard of 3, and I know there's more. I know Russia has their own, and I know probably here in the United States we got basically the same thing hid under a mountain some damn where.
Well, yeah, I mean,
it's not the
of course
only
we
one.
do.
But the one I'm told you about though, is the most massive. It's got the most stuff. You know what I mean?
Well, it's probably the one ran by some sort of unified worldly government
actually,
thing,
when I
entity of
researched
some sort.
It's actually maintained and ran by different branches of the military from different countries. They live there continually, and they shift out like every so many months. A new crew comes in, so they don't go cuckoo from the isolation. So it's constantly.
I wonder where those people are. I want to talk to those guys.
I've been trying to find them. That's why everybody in the military I ran into.
I mean, somebody had to build this shit.
Yeah.
Where are those guys at?
Every time I meet someone in the military, I ask them, what do you know about Antarctica? And I've heard a couple little rumors from people who served. And then most of them have no clue because they weren't high enough officers, to get access, or they weren't stationed there. You know what I mean? It's in the military, it's always a need to know basis thing.
It's funny that we're talking about this because today at work I was listening to a podcast where they brought up this guy had he used to work for the military, and now he's building these sanctuaries for when something happens, and it's almost like a timeshare sort of thing.
Yep, I've seen that.
Yeah,
I've checked into that too.
Where he's like, well, you pay into it. I build these things,
and it's basically mansions underground.
Right, and when shit goes south, you have
a card, a security measure to get in there, and that's the only way you can get in there.
And they even dove deeper into this podcast I was listening to, and they said, well, the government originally, back in the 50s, wanted to make this for people.
Yeah.
And said, well, we need to make it where people can go to a safe place. And I would imagine this is the turn of where the government started becoming a little bit more corrupt. They said, well, why don't we just
a place for us?
Right. Why don't we just make it for ourselves?
We're the ones that run things anyway.
Right. I mean,
what do they need to be here for? We just have to feed them.
All they have is penises and vaginas. We can make that happen. We can procreate.
Yeah.
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 I think it's funny that we're talking about this now because I was just listening to that today. But
Yeah, I ran into that about 3 years ago. What you were just talking about,
right.
And,
So the guy I was listening.
I actually got prices and stuff on it and checked it out.
So the guy I was listening to was saying that he knows a couple of people that are doing this, and he says there's one common theme between everybody, and he said they've all been in the military.
Yep.
You know, and this is a guy that he actually is a what do they call them? Prepper?
Yeah. Doomsday prepper.
Yeah, he's a prepper.
Yep.
And he's like, he goes on to say, you know, like this is what, that's what they're doing. They're preppers too, but they're trying to help other people because of what they've learned in the government.
Yeah.
And now they're just trying to, like, they didn't like what they saw. They knew a storm was coming of some sort, and now they're trying to help people that don't know this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but you have to buy into what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a crapshoot. I mean, hell, you can be gypped by somebody.
Yeah, you could get hit with a bomb and not
I
ever
could go
make
out
it there.
tomorrow and be like, well, you know, the world's going to come to an end. I got some secret information.
Yeah.
You know, give me money and I'll build, you know.
I'll build you a cool place, man. You'll be safe.
Yeah, you know, I'll fucking build you a she shed in my backyard.
Yeah. Play off your fears.
Yeah, exactly. It's that stuff
Here's
right there is what actually frightens me.
Yeah.
Not because of, you know, the apocalyptic part of it. To me, that's something that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But the fact that they seem so certain about it.
Yeah.
And they're affiliated with governments.
Exactly. I ran into a guy, I think it was last year in Tennessee, Special Forces military. And we were talking about some sci-fi movie or something that we had both watched. And he says, Dale, if I tell you something, you keep it quiet. I was like, yeah, you know, we're brothers, I'll keep it quiet. He said, you know all the shit we watched on that movie? All them special weapons and all that shit? He said, that shit's real. We've had that shit for years. The only people that use it, Special Forces. So we've had that stuff since the 70s. We got shit even better than what's in that damn movie.
Well, 2 questions for you, Dale.
Yeah.
Number 1, what movie were you watching?
Independence Day.
Oh, Independence Day. That makes sense. It's very relative. Number 2, why didn't you keep quiet about it? You just
Because it's actually
it's
pretty much common knowledge to people who run in my circles.
Yeah, it's Independence Day.
Well, actually, if you look at it, technologically, the only real thing they had on us was space travel in that movie.
Yeah,
you know, and they had some better weapons.
Well, the aliens,
and the force field that protected the ships.
So,
know, which is
how would you predict an alien invasion then? Like, you believe in aliens, obviously.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes, definitely.
You're right. What do you think
there's,
that would
there's
look
two
like?
different theories of alien invasion.
Right, the theories, but what does Dale believe?
Well, I believe there's 2 different scenarios. That's what I'm saying.
Fair enough. All right.
One, anybody who could travel light years to make it here from space is so far advanced than we are technically. It'd be like the Europeans and the Indians all over again. They could wipe us out with impunity. But my hope is from what actually I've seen over the years, because I know shit comes here. I've experienced things. So I know we're being visited by something. You know, I've not actually ever seen what. You know, I've seen craft, but I've never seen what was in the craft. So I know we're being visited by something. But I'm a hopeful soul. they've been able to visit us for millennia, and they've never destroyed us. Why should they? We're like ants to them. We are science experiments to them. Be like us.
Or science observations.
Exactly. They're observing us as a scientific project.
Much like we go to the Galapagos and, we see
exactly
these things evolve.
We're so far below them, technically, intellectually, probably even spiritually, that to them we're like animals. They have no need to take us over.
Well, yeah, but if we go to the Galapagos and we see the fucking turtles, discovered how to start nuclear war, then we might be like,
well, that's
okay.
If you go back and look through the literature of visitations since we found out how to blow stuff up, they have been much more visitations reported since the first bomb, bomb we dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, we set up a red flag.
Yeah, we sent up a red flag, and they've been watching the hell out of us since then, very closely, very, very closely, and not very covertly sometimes.
But we
That's why
we think of that, and we think of it as a negative thing. Like, oh my God, they're here. They're watching us. We're going to get attacked. It might just, like you said, a science experiment.
Actually,
we're just watching and observing us.
It doesn't really have anything to do with the religion. I mean, a lot of religious people would freak out when I say this, but I believe they are actually several different entities that are interested in our planet, and some are benevolent, and I think some are not. And I think it's the benevolent ones who protect us from the ones that are not.
So you think there's a war outside of...
I think, there's just as much conflict out there as there is here. They may be
just
smarter.
On a galactic level.
Yeah, but it's at a whole different reality beyond what we, we think in countries.
Right.
In the world. They think in...
Yeah, we think from this
solar
rock
system.
To the next rock.
Yeah, they think in solar systems like we think in countries. And, and it's highly possible that there are, even as we sit here, huge galactic wars going on between different entities for control of space or control of resources or, just pure damn fighting. Who knows? Because we're not cognizant of what's going on out there. We can't even get off our own little ball here. Yeah. Farthest we've made it's the moon, and even there's people argue we never went there. So
well, we probably
we know of.
We probably could venture out further, but maybe we caught wind of
I think
other things, and we have, according to the government, we have things not made of this world
that we can fly, that we got control of. I believe that once we drop the bomb, now this is just a personal theory I entertain to myself sometimes. I mean, you can't find it probably anywhere else, but I believe personally that when we opened the nuclear Pandora's box, our governments were contacted at high levels. And we still experiment with it. We're still building it. But you notice we're not blowing up islands. All of our tests now are underground. If we have a nuclear test, unless you're some third world country like North Korea or Iran or Iraq. But all the civilized countries follow strict guidelines on how a nuclear device is activated now. Also, we have scaled back until recently all of our space exploration. I mean, we ain't been in space for 20 years. When they shut the shuttle down, publicly, we have not been in space since then.
We haven't been to the moon in 40.
Yeah, but privately, I believe that's because we were contacted and now we have access to those other places through these other entities. But we are still judged by the galactic organization or civilization, or you call it, as not yet responsible enough to leave here. Because we just haven't grown as people yet. We're not enlightened enough yet. We're not intelligent enough yet. and we're too damn warlike to be turned loose on the galaxy.
Right, and that makes sense. It's almost we got a little too much information a little too quick.
Yeah.
But if I can gather what you're saying correctly, that in a sense we have knowledge of much bigger, better galactic aspects, bigger pictures, plans going on.
It's not common knowledge.
Right. So, but with that being said, the reason, what I derive from this, the reason why we haven't been back to the moon in 40 years, why space exploration has been very low key, is it's unnecessary because we know these things.
We already know now.
So, like, moving forward with NASA and stuff like this, going back to the moon, the trip to Mars might be just a show.
It is. That's my whole point. It's a show. It's a show to, just like all the alien movies and all that desensitize us to that actually being a reality. So is the Mars thing and all that. That's to desensitize us to the fact that space travel is actually already available. But we've got to bring you up to speed, you slow people. We got to bring you up to speed so you don't freak out when you figure out that you can jump light years into another dimension or another galaxy. We don't want you tripping out and freaking out and thinking that there's no God because there's actually people out there and you thought you were the only people in the universe that were real, that there's actually other real people out there. We don't want to destroy society and religion by telling you this, so we're going to kind of let it sneak upon you a little bit at a time and feed it to you with a spoon until you catch up with the rest of us.
And we can interweave all these previous beliefs.
Exactly, until we can make a new thing that won't cause society to flip the hell out. We're going to just kind of spoon feed it to you a little bit at a time. Like, oh, great, we're making all these great jumps, when actually we're already out of we're not jumping puddles anymore. We're jumping into the lake, and we're still telling you about the puddles.
Yeah. Well, we're being passed notes in class by other galaxies.
Exactly. We're just being slowly. It's like training a horse. When a horse is young, they don't know shit, and that's us. We don't know shit. But then the master comes along, the trainer, and he teaches the horse how to lead slowly. Then he'll teach the horse how to pick its feet, clean it without freaking out. And then you work on brushing the horse, get it used to being touched. It's a process. And then eventually you put a saddle on his back. You walk him around a week or two with a saddle on his back in a stall. And then you take and put a man on his back on his belly. And you walk him around. Get him used to that. That's the same way.
That becomes the horse's world.
Then it becomes the horse's world. The horse is not freaked out about it no more. It's everyday thing. Okay, this guy's going to come in here. He's going to throw this thing on my back. This little irritating shit's going to get on my back and make me run around in circles, and they're going to bring me back. Yeah. That's life. But see, we're not ready for the irritating fucker on our back with a saddle yet. We're still learning how to walk.
Maybe.
I mean, some of us, like me and you, we could intellectually
I see your analogy, and I raise you that maybe we are the horses. We're fully prepared with the saddle.
Well, some of us are
with the saddle on our back, but some of us are looking at that fence like, what the hell's on the other side of that fence?
Exactly.
That's a horse never questions what's on the other side of the fence, but a horse is.
And because we are that way. That's why we have to be led along slowly, because they don't want to turn us loose on the galaxy and our current.
Well, they can't turn.
No, they can't.
I mean,
we
honestly, if they came out tomorrow and said, "Well, aliens exist. Here's video evidence. Here's an alien supreme being, and he's going to come
and
down.
You can leave with him tomorrow." And they turned us loose out there. Oh my God!
We'll be
anarchy. I mean, we can't even keep our own planet straight.
We'll be like lemmings. We'll just fucking jump off the cliff and follow each other.
Yeah. I mean,
so are you proposing that the government is actually protecting us in this world that seems like they're not?
Yeah.
This thing it's so crazy in this aspect.
I mean, you say government. It's not really I mean, the government is part of it on a need to know. The government is part of it on a need to know.
You're right. I say government,
but the people who run this world.
I think that's what I'm attributing that word to.
Yeah.
There's people in Antarctica. Those are the people I'm talking about.
Yeah, the actual people who do run the show and play the game. Yeah, they know. And they've been in contact and they've been doling out technology to us to improve our lives. They've been doling out like the little info we got on the UFOs. They're preparing us like we were children, basically. They're the adults and we're the children. So they're preparing us for our future life with all these crazy things in it, but they don't want us scared. You know what I mean? They don't want us to freak hell out.
Do you think that's the right way to handle that?
Well, probably. Considering the amount of uneducated, illiterate, and highly... This is the big problem I look at. Not only what I just mentioned, but our whole world is based on religion of some sort. Now, there's a couple of religions that accept this, but 90% of the religions that run the world, the religious world, have no place in their theology or their theocracy for alien beings. So, they would start screaming from the rooftops of Satan and all that crap, because they flip back to their primitive fear response, Well, this can't be God. This is Satan. And Satan has came. And then it goes into the apocalypse crap. You know what I mean? Instead of accepting God made us. He might have made some other folks too. Because they don't think like that. And you have to realize...
It's crippling.
It is. It's crippling us as a society because so many of us are wrapped up in this closed-minded mentality that if it don't fit the script, then it's evil.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up earlier, but I was a little touch and go with your thoughts and feelings on it, so I didn't bring it up. But shit.
How do you ask this tactfully?
No. Actually, I'm gonna be honest with you. I lost my train of thought.
I do that a lot.
No. There's what the fuck was I gonna say? Give me 2 seconds here. So she gave me the 10-minute sign and lost my train of thought. Fuck, I lost it. There was man.
It's probably about theocracy of some sort because that's what we were talking about.
Well, it had to do with the religion aspect of Armageddon.
Well, that's prophecy in 90% of the religions of this earth.
Right, and when things don't fall into that narrative, okay, we were talking about one world connectivity, and that's, speaking Western, religions, Christianity and things like this, they talk about, it's the mark of the beast, it's end of times when the world can communicate with each other, all this stuff. And
you would, if this was real, it would deny them their apocalypse.
Right. And not only that, but it kind of preset a mind, a way of thinking for people to fight against that. Yeah. This, what we propose to be a unity of the world.
Yeah, they see as Armageddon.
Right. And that's something that really, that is even more scary to me than those motherfuckers in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Collecting, super genes.
Here's another little tidbit for you before we go. Another thing I can't substantiate, but it's a theory that I ran across strolling through the darkness sometimes, that the aliens or entities, whatever you want to call them, the superior intelligence. If you don't believe creation, if you're into the scientific viewpoint of things, the entities that seeded this planet and actually made human beings, however, invented religion to give us unity so we wouldn't all kill each other. And that's why religion has been pushed forward in every society in the world. It was meant to be as a unifying effect on the population.
And you speak of this like it's like a science experiment.
Yeah, basically.
I
like I say, there's a lot of theories out there, and I read them all. I weigh them, I evaluate them, and if I think they may be possible, I put them in a pile. And if I think they're totally batshit crazy, I put them in another pile. And then the pile I live in is just what I experience every day. And either there's so many things you can't prove or disprove, but the fact that you can think of it means it could happen.
So, like, I hear you say this. All I can think about is, and maybe just the way I'm conditioned to think, because now you've got me questioning my sanity, but
I'm good at that. That is my job.
Is when I think of religions and things of that aspect, they seem like a natural evolution of anything.
Oh, of course.
Sociologically,
if you look at the growth of the tribe to the city to the state to the company, the country, it is a logical progression. And I mean, even primitive tribes believe in the other. Don't matter what they call him. If he's God, he's Allah, Yahweh. Don't matter what his label is. We have an innate thing in our soul that wants to believe there's a higher power.
Right, but what I'm saying is, like,
and that's where religion comes from.
In a sense, it's a part of it for sure.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, you're trying to introduce that maybe this was seeded in our minds when we were like, on our way from monkeys to humans, or what have you. But at this, I mean, I can't really argue with that fact, but
it freaks you out.
Well, it doesn't freak me out, but
it makes you think.
When I look up at the stars.
Oh, now don't get me wrong. Now, I do believe in science.
When I look up at the stars,
but I also believe in God. See, that doesn't mess with my theory of God.
All right, well, let me finish your deal. When I look up at the stars, and I think, 2,000 years ago, 2,000 plus years ago, people sitting around a campfire eating mushroom soup, looking up at the skies, and they derive all these stories. They connect the dots. You get these Greek gods. You get all these. That seems like a very natural way to think. It seems a very natural evolution that would derive different religions, that some of which have the same basis off of.
Yeah.
And they've, just like a tree, they go off on their own branch.
Yeah.
But you're proposing to me, in this theoretical conversation, you're proposing to me that aliens may have seeded that in order for what? To control?
No, not control. See,
I can't find a purpose.
See, the reason that was done is for actually multiple reasons. One, to stimulate you intellectually, to make you think outside the box.
Okay, that makes sense.
Two,
to kind of propel the evolution process.
Like what we talked before earlier tonight when we first started this conversation, to give you that sense of unity with another human being. You believe in the same thing. So you're unified. Wars have been fought over that.
Oh, yeah.
Crusades.
Yeah.
You know, the Spanish Inquisition. You know,
that you start that tribal mentality.
you start the tribal mentality, which builds civilization. That's why I believe it's highly possible that could have happened.
So
because
the project was to see how you can build
to go
or
from
knowing that you can build a civilization.
You know, if you believe in God, you believe in the Bible, we are created in the image of God. God is a creator. We are creators. So it is only natural for us to create. It's how we're wired. So yes, we're going to create theories. We're going to create religions, governments, but it's all for one purpose. And that's what I'm working on now in my own theology, in my personal theology. See, in my theology, aliens fit right in. Oh, sorry. You know, because, see, I consider everything to be part of the all. The all is everything, and we are part of everything. Everything's works to the betterment or the detriment of the all. It's like a yin and yang. Oh, come on, lady. You know, I'm a part of you in your reality. You're a part of my reality. And we're part of the world, which is all the same reality, which is part of the universe, which is all the same reality. And it doesn't matter about space and time. None of that shit means a damn. It's all the all. Everything. And we're all part of the all, and the all is part of us. And so if you believe that way, that God, or for lack of a better label, is the all, we're all part of it. And so anything is possible.
That's a beautiful way
That's my belief.
to describe that, because it's a much better articulated way to say that, because I've always said, not always, in the past 15 years, I've said, I believe in God, but I have absolutely no idea what God is.
Exactly. We're part of God, and God's part of us, but we do not have the brain power, the intellect, to even come up with a close, approximate, even description of God, because our mind is not that big. We can't, it's like trying to encompass the whole ocean in one look. You can't do it. I mean, even in space, all you can see is one side of the planet. You can't see the other side. You never get the all. You never get the whole picture.
Yeah,
because
when you look up at
you get
Orion,
your perspective.
When you look up at Orion in the sky, there's another planet going around another star on the other side where Orion looks completely fucking different.
So I'm saying, so you have no concept of the all. It's too much for your mind to comprehend, but you are part of it. And even after you die, you'll still be part of it. You're always part of it. Always will be.
And that's a scary thing. It's scary because
to even contemplate that is scary. But that's something I've been working on.
Oh, Dale, I'm about to dive deep in. Listen, okay, Dale, I have to end this.
Yes, I got people burning my phone.
Right,
up, so
okay, I have to end this. I want you back.
Oh, anytime.
I want to not only bring you back, but listen to the last 10 minutes of this fucking podcast before we jump in, so we can dive back into this, because you're triggering a whole bunch of. You're triggering a whole bunch of things that I find very interesting and have thought deeply about.
It's a common perception for all of us, but some of us, go there, some of us don't. And I've always went there, and I'm still going there. I'm still trying to figure everything out, like everybody else.
Let's go there.
So
I think we went a couple places.
Well, yeah, we went down some pretty good rabbit holes
Oh,
tonight.
by the way, Dale Barnes also plays music.
yeah, I do dabble in that sometimes. When I'm not trying to freak people out, I do that.
All right, brother. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Stevie, for having me out.
You are. I'm not surprised with how this conversation went, even though I'm very surprised with how this conversation went. I knew we were going to dive deep, but I didn't know where. So, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
I know that you're a musician, you play music, so do I, and that's really not important on this podcast right now.
Well, people are more important than what their image is to the public.
Yeah.
And if you take the time, you find some good stories.
That's the beautiful thing.
And the world is a story.
And you are quite the chapter, my friend. So
thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
You're welcome. We'll do it again.
All right, brother. All right, everybody. Have a good night.
Night. Well, that ought to give them something to think about, Steve.